Okay, we're recording. It's 6:30, so we're about an hour and a half into our trip.
You left, but I was like, I'm gonna sit here because
I
when
left to go
I
lay down, but yeah, so what did
yes,
you do?
I normally like to journal or like have a question of like what I want to accomplish. That's the
Sure.
goal oriented me, right?
You wanna, yeah.
But then when I really trip out, this is what I'm glad I did. When you kept saying you were getting really high, I'm like, I should just let go and go on the trip because
Uh-huh.
the microdosing still gives me that control. Which, if you're a control freak,
You don't ever let go.
yeah, and LSD's therapeutic effects is like so beautiful in that because then you can like create. So there comes a point where you're really uncomfortable.
Uh-huh.
You're like, should I lay down? Should I eat? Should I sit down? Should I shit? Should I like? You're like,
Yeah.
what am I? What's wrong with me?
Yeah.
And you're like, nothing's
What?
wrong. There's absolutely nothing that you can do right now. And there's no physiological. There's nothing going
Mhm.
on right now that wasn't going on 2 minutes ago. Like,
Yeah, so
and
just
then
relax.
right, but that's the thing with people with like panic disorders or general
Anxiety.
anxiety
That's why I went to go lay down because I
or and then
wanted,
all the stimulus is just too much. You're like,
yeah,
oh my
it's a
gosh.
lot. Eventually, so I had to lay down, but there's a lot like your kids are inside and there's a lot of music
Oh, they're
inside,
so
but
loud.
it's
Yes.
fine. It's like they're it's like daytime. It's like their time to be loud. So I just put my headphones in, and initially I just put my
Yes.
headphones in just for the noise cancellation. But then I was like, oh, it would actually cancel noise better if I put on music.
Yes. You need to not, it's not about eliminating the noise, it's about finding the noise you want to hear.
Mm, I know. So I turned on
Um,
the Interstellar soundtrack again, and it's such a interesting experience on LSD. So the last time I listened to the Interstellar soundtrack on LSD, it was at the
I'm sorry,
tail end.
this light is so bright. That's
That's
why I
fine.
tell people why I'm wearing it.
So the last time I listened to Interstellar on LSD was at the tail end of the trip, but this time I was like
In the
in like
beginning,
the
yeah,
peak
I'm
of
like,
it.
oh my gosh, we're not videotaping the peak of it.
Well, I think we're still 3.5 hours in, so this is still I feel like technically
Yes.
the peak. I think anything
But it
within the
was like
four
we were going over
hours,
the ledge where the nausea is starting to like taper off into the
yeah.
feeling
And
of
yours
like
was gonna get
yuck.
worse. Yours is only gonna get worse because you took a full tab 30
30
minutes
minutes after
after
my
I took.
initial.
Yeah.
So I took like a jump.
Mhm.
There are terms and like
You took two hundred
I'm always
percent
trying to
of your
compete and
dosage.
I always want to get to like the furthest.
Yeah.
I took like chunk, chunk,
It's
instead
like
of just
taking it's
one
like taking a
tab.
shot of espresso and then 30 minutes later you decide to take two more shots of espresso. So
Yeah.
you have three
I like
shots
to test the
total.
water and then if I like it, then I'm going all in.
I had two shots, I guess, according to that analogy at the beginning.
Yeah,
I
you're
never
like,
re-upped.
forget it. If I'm gonna go, I'm gonna go.
But listening to the Interstellar soundtrack again, or I guess listening to music in general, it almost feels like you're like there when like the decisions are being made. And so it's weird when you listen to music on LSD because you almost feel like you know the intent of like the artist. It's a weird like connection you feel with
Well,
like
I think that
music.
happens when you also have you have music theory knowledge. Other people, it elicits a curiosity that makes them like figure out that they want to learn those
Well,
things.
I think it could be with any music that people are interested in. If it's like rap or
Well, yeah, I feel there's a big brain section to music
mhm.
that we have yet to
But yeah, it was
map.
definitely
We're so obsessed with mapping shit.
the LSD experience when listening to I feel like music it's almost unmatched. Like compared to like listening to music on like weed or on like shrooms, I feel like LSD has like the best experience. And I think it's because of the like you just get the raw input from like the sound and so you can hear everything.
Isn't that with all the stimulus?
I
You
don't like
appreciate
the
sound different.
auditory experience on LSD is different than shrooms, and I feel like
Oh,
you can really appreciate. well, I guess it's different, but you can really appreciate like the details in like the music more on LSD than anything else. It's fun.
Maybe because when you're on shrooms, you're not focused on the music.
No, but I have listened to music on shrooms, and I feel like consistently LSD gives me the best experience when listening to music.
The best auditory stimulation.
Yeah.
Or is it just these gel tabs? I don't know. I guess I haven't experienced them enough. I feel like LSD has always helped me when I get stuck in um, a cyclical pattern.
It helps. Yeah, it helps. It gets you out of a line of thinking.
Oh no, not a line of thinking. I feel like mushrooms help me find a new line of thinking better, but getting out of that emotional rut.
You look like an evil Sith Lord. You can't see your eyes. You're just
Who says
talking.
I'm not? So
So then, what did you watch?
I went middle ground and said Cars 3.
Oh, you
I let Disney pick
Cars 3. So
because as unfortunate as it is, like I grew up in Anna, like this is where I part of Earth and the space and time I've occupied. I'm like a fucking Disney princess. That's just
well, Pixar I feel like is different than Disney though. Pixar is
no,
an
I know.
acquisition,
That is it. It's a
but
different growth that like helps you realize more about yourself. You
so Cars is John Lasseter. That's actually John Lasseter directed. So John Lasseter is the guy who founded Pixar.
Oh, and by the way, I don't like knowing any of this. I just like to watch the movie to see what my gut reaction, emotion reaction, and then finding all this stuff.
Oh, it's so
Because you tell me
weird
after all the facts, I'm like,
because
wow.
Cars is like the weakest performing in terms of critical reviews or
Mhm.
critic reviews. Like all of Pixar movies are highly like reviewed. I think Toy Story 1, 2, and 3 all of 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's like
Yeah, the
unheard
reason
of.
why I don't go by any of the reviews is because the things I seem to like don't go anything
Right. So
by those reviews. So I'm like,
so Cars gets like 70%,
Rotten
60%. It gets
Tomatoes.
really low scores.
Oh,
It like brings down the average of Pixar movies. And the reason why it keeps getting made is because the guy who started Pixar, John Lasseter, really likes like
the
directing
story.
those movies.
Okay,
Yes.
and only because okay, so we had the
So
discs, right? And my kids had the Blu-ray player. This is before we had any kind of streaming,
mhm.
whatever.
Yeah,
And I'm
DVDs.
going crazy, them telling me to put the same DVDs over and over. So I'm like, oh, this is the first time I'm like, oh, there's disc twos. There's how this was done or how this was
Yeah.
made or whatever. Oh, yeah, that gives you lots of insight. So I did watch the second disc with Cars, and it maybe that's what made me want to watch the third one. Because otherwise,
Oh, you know what? I actually realized I never
and
watched the
then
third one.
that's what made me I wanted to take a picture because it did elicit an emotion and a response from me that I was like,
Why don't you
but
just take a screenshot then?
I couldn't because I was watching it.
I know, but
And
you,
I wanted it had to be what I'm seeing from
I see.
my eyes. And it was this whole picture, so it was only a part of the picture, but I couldn't take it as part of, it was missing because it was
Yeah,
needed to take the
because
picture.
your phone, I mean, your camera is on your screen. Our cameras used to be separate, but Steve Jobs had to be an ass and put it into our phones. I know, Pixar movies, I mean, we were talking about this with Christopher Nolan too, but I think
I'm only
Pixar,
23 minutes. Okay. Oh, he found out. Oh, this is so sad. His buddies sold Rusty's. Spoiler alerts.
oh, uh-huh.
And they said, I don't think we wanted to give you what we thought you wanted from us.
Oh,
Not in those terms. I
yeah,
mean,
right,
you're
and
gonna
I
have to
get
watch
it.
the movie, but
Yeah, no, I think that's what Pixar does good
and
is
I was
they
yeah,
ask these
these
philosophical questions,
or these
like,
emotional things that like the regular stories don't even touch upon.
right. And that's the thing, it's like, I
And I
think
think it
they
gets
really
lost to people
respect.
who don't feel those nuances. But
Yeah, I think they respect children enough to like tell them like a complicated story
and know that they would understand it
Or
somehow
even if
or
they
see
don't
it.
understand it at the time, they might understand it later. And like at least they'll be exposed to these concepts
Well,
like
yeah, because
in an easier way.
people talk crap on Disney now, but I'm like, the way it helped children in its time, like,
Yeah, and
is
still
like,
helps
wow,
children.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's
They
very
weren't always this like evil Sith Lord trying to just take your money and children.
well, I mean, I think when you think about like top brands like in the world and you think about like Disney or you think about like Coca-Cola
And stage capitalism?
or like McDonald's, I think when it comes to like actually
I
treating
shouldn't say these trigger words, but then how do you call them?
right, but then I think when you look at how Disney still treats its customers, I think it's still like
It's
they still
not about
deserve
treating their customer, it's just recognizing who their customers are.
right because the customer experience with Disney is still like it's the standard for like parks, for movies,
Yes.
for family
And
entertainment.
they always then start to engulf other things like Pixar who kind of get them back to what they were
No, did you know ESPN is owned by
originally.
Disney? Like it's like
Yes.
40% of their maybe not
No,
anymore, but it used to be a
ESPN's
huge
big.
margin.
That's why I was like, man, these gaming where you're watching because I only watch sports because people when I was limited, you're limited by what people want to watch on the TV, right? But now we have so many screens and so many like everyone can watch whatever, but people willingly just watch people play games and win at games who they think like
Yeah, the entertainment,
there's
I think
yeah, there I think the gaming industry, not just the people who are playing the games, but the people who are watching has been greatly underrated or
yeah.
undervalued.
Yeah, I mean, that's the
I don't play games as much as like, but the
they said
amount
like
of time and hours I've spent in
there
looking and
was
watching and being entertained by it is
that
like,
Planet Money podcast where they said the amount it would cost to get a telescope out so we can like look for asteroids that might hit us like in the movie Armageddon with Bruce Willis would
yes,
cost
like 500 million.
$550 million, like half a billion, right?
What they
The
grossed in the first year.
yeah, and that's how much the movie Armageddon grossed. But we can't like we'll pay for the entertainment, but then we can't get the money together for the actual like telescope to like get it out there. And so it's like
Play to the instant gratification.
we value entertainment so highly. Like, you know what I mean? Like it takes
It's our
precedence
escape from
over
reality. Maybe we just need to work on making our reality better.
yeah,
The only
entertainment.
thing we can do,
You know,
actually, is
because
investing in making the reality so good that you're entertained without having to pay for entertainment.
yeah, people don't know this. Steve Jobs only became a millionaire from Apple, but Steve Jobs became a billionaire
Through
by
Pixar.
through Pixar.
And
Yeah,
imagination.
not
He's always been able to recognize when someone's got a passion and a dream, and all it needed was like a little boost.
but still, it's like the value
He
of
recognizes his
entertainment
boost.
goes side by side with like the value of like software and like hardware.
Oh, for
It
sure.
like keeps up its
They go
value.
hand in hand. It wouldn't have developed without the gamers, dude. The graphics, no way. A bunch of
No,
stupid
but how
engineers.
we're
They were just like, we were fine
no,
with the pixels. We can understand that. But it's like the.
I'm agreeing with you. I'm just saying
Uh,
like no one like what's the value? Like every like we're valuing it so highly. I think everyone values it really highly.
no, I think people undervalue it.
No, I think they're
And
trying to
that's
figure it
why.
out. Everyone's trying to figure out how to make money off of like e-gaming or like Twitch, but it's like,
Well, those are
everyone
the people who are gaming.
no, companies are trying to figure it out too, but they don't
Oh, yes,
like
for the people who are
YouTube is trying to figure
watching.
out and everyone in
Because how
esports is trying to
can
figure
you?
out.
That's like the whole problem with people trying to regulate something that survived and thrived in like the gray and the
No,
underground.
it's not survived and thrive. It's new. It
It's
didn't
not
exist
new.
before. What do you mean it's not new? We didn't have this kind of gaming until the internet came about. And
But I
like
mean,
we didn't even have these kind of gamers until like they became until these games were made. You know what I mean?
I know. So there's this creative thought process and this want, but I think it's the gamers and the people that are watching them that are pushing for the improvements more than these companies recognize. These companies think it's the people who are able to create it over the people who are consuming it. Or
No, I mean, why else would Twitch be like trying to make so many creators? And like YouTube,
well,
I think
and
they're
YouTube,
trying
I
to make
know it's
creators.
like
I think
the
they know
decentralized
I think they
form.
know the value of content. They're just trying to extract they're just trying to get the most out of it, or they're trying to keep the most pieces of the pie to themselves. But then that doesn't like people who are actually creating the stuff don't feel motivated to then
Do that. Yeah.
if they don't get any of the
Well, I think people who want to create want the motivation for creation is in allowing people to understand and see what you see. And that can only be done if people accept and
well, I think the value for entertainment is high, and I think it's always been high, and people realize that.
now.
No, they have always known it. That's why
Well, I mean,
people
why is
try
there so many
to.
people that are I've never seen so many people be so negative about Disney.
I mean, there. I think
Except this
it's
jet like now, and I'm like, whoa, what happened? They've become the
they've become a
ooh,
huge target because in one
yeah, like what
generation, literally
happened?
since the Pixar acquisition, then they acquired Marvel, then they acquired Star Wars, then they acquired 21st Century Fox. So since they acquired Pixar, they acquired all and National Geographic,
Yes,
and
that's what
then
happens in monopolies. Isn't that why we
no,
play that
and I just
game?
think they've just that's exactly so they've grown as a target that big, and I think that's why you're seeing so much more criticism is because they're
Oh,
such
just
a big
because people
target
I
now.
know, and I'm still here, um, kind of at the center. We're close to Anna. Like we haven't,
That's what I'm saying. It's like we've been to
and we're close to
Disneyland and
LA
like
and
Knott's Berry
Hollywood,
Farm.
where all of this stuff is kind of
There is actually like
created.
an experience at their parks, at Disneyland parks,
Mhm.
that you can't, it's not replicated anywhere else. And that's why I say like
Yeah,
Disney,
I've never been anywhere else except the Anaheim one, and I didn't realize that that's a whole different perspective than from anyone coming
but still,
from
it's
Disney
like
from outside of
there's
the
still a there's
Anaheim,
still a respect like there's still a like a standard for like a guest experience at any of the Disneylands. Even though it started from
which I feel
Anaheim.
like is exceptional.
Exactly. No, and
It's
that's
like
why I think
the
Disney
logistics, guys, come on.
for
Like,
as much criticism as they get, which I think is all deserved, but I
so an
think they
event's gonna happen
still
and their traffic,
yeah, I
like,
still think
they're like
Disney
ants.
deserves to be like one of the top world's brands just because of how they treat their customers. And it's
Oh,
great.
yeah.
Like they set the gold standard for how a private park should be run.
So far.
So far, yeah. I know who
I've
before
never been
Walt
to their other
Disney.
private parks.
No, but it's like I think like because Walt Disney cared so much about the experience of like his guests that he actually lived at like in I think the above
Did
the
they call him
fire.
crazy?
Probably. I mean everyone's crazy. They call him a lot of things. But yeah,
Not everybody gets called crazy,
Disney I think
like in public,
just grew to be a big
where
target.
they're like, he needs to be institutionalized. There's inventors and people who, because I know he had a fight with Knott's Berry Farm founder.
He's always like pointing like
And
two fingers in like a lot of the photos that he's in because they photoshopped
yeah, they
all
have to
of
get
the
rid of the cigarette
cigarettes.
smokes. I'm like, they're gonna have to get rid of all the weed and the
No, I don't think people will look at weed as
similar.
as similarly as they look at cigarettes. Like cigarettes is kind
Well,
of like you
because
don't want to give cigarettes
cigarettes,
to kids. I mean, you don't want to give weed to kids either, but I think
my kids don't want it.
yeah,
They're
kids
like they
don't
can
want to
smell
go
it. They're
out
like,
and
and then when
buy
they see candy, they're like,
because they're not
is this ill?" I'm
yeah,
like,
they weren't
no, it's
made to
not
be
good.
addictive, I guess. Like, it's like you're not selling them something to keep selling them that thing. I think that's the
Yes.
negative connotation that cigarettes have is the
Well, because
companies
cigarettes are addictive.
actually, yeah, you know what? So
Holy bejesus.
if
And
weed
they
companies
do
make
mess
weed
with
addictive, then yeah, I could definitely see weed being looked
cigarette
at in a
companies
similar
in the
way.
US have messed with the nicotine levels. They have lobbied hard.
I know, you think tobacco farmers like 200 years ago could have ever imagined cigarettes being so demonized? Like, now. You know why?
Once
Because of the
if
private
they think it's
industries.
gonna be a cash cow, yeah.
I know, so do you think weed in 200 years is going to be like this, like cigarettes? Like, it's just been.
No,
Com-
only the parts that have been
well, just smoke the
like
plant.
the stuff that they were trying to like they were trying to get me to fundraise like I and I was like, that's gonna fall. That's in this industry of oh my gosh. See, this is what happens with acid too. You start going off on tangents, or I do. This is why I wanted
Yeah,
to
pay attention.
journal. Okay, what was it?
Nothing. I don't know. I don't know.
This is why also I like to have. Remember, I told you I'm like, are we gonna do it? Are we gonna film put keynotes?
I don't know. That wasn't anything you ever brought up to me.
I did, but you're like, I already do that.
What?
You
Oh.
already make notes when you're making this.
Oh, I thought you said keynotes. A keynote is like a PowerPoint presentation.
Oh no, I mean you take notes. Take notes. I know. See, you have to be careful with the words you use because they could mean things and people get. But you take notes and you're the one producing this show. Like you have a. It's like what people I realized with PewDiePie's reaction with KSI that he has so much more control over his content than it's not like the Joe Rogan podcast used to be.
What do you mean? PewDiePie?
Mm-hmm.
You have to take
like,
I think you have.
People think PewDiePie
so
is like a natural reaction, and only when I saw him react with another YouTuber was I like
with KSI.
Oh, he's very in control with what is in front of the camera.
PewDiePie.
Yes.
Yeah. Why? Okay,
and
why?
then KSI is like, why? Just let go. And then PewDiePie fans get so mad.
I don't know if
protective.
they get. No, sure, okay.
They get defensive. They're
for
like,
sure. But so what did you see? Okay, sorry. So rewind that. So what did you see? Because I must have missed it. What did you see that made you realize that PewDiePie? I mean, because I can kind of see that he's a control freak, but I don't think as much as you can.
So
what made you see that he's a control freak?
When you were like, let's make a YouTube channel, I was like, okay. Remember when YouTube came out? And I'm always asking you or my friends about like social media and like stuff like what? Like I didn't know what Twitch was, YouTube. I never had a. Anyways, so trying to understand what you were looking at when we were coming up with our like what we felt like tech could do for us and what we wanted to use it and build in our business models. It was so confusing because I feel like I didn't recognize or realize how people were using it.
Okay, so what does that have to do with
PewDiePie? Because PewDiePie was one of our biggest case studies.
Yes.
You show me so many other people that you're looking at because I realize the people who look at our channel don't see all the stuff that I question and see when you're making this show.
Sure, right, because we just make it.
And so
there's a lot of decisions that have to be made. Yeah, before
and I'm like,
video
how
gets
much
done.
is it edited? How much? And I'm like, so it's way more produced in some of these than I thought because I thought it was just the opposite of all Hollywood. There was no production, no editing. And I was like, wait, why did I even think that? Obviously there's editing, like the same like cameras and audio and all that shit is used. Why would there not be that like
but that's the thing. It can be
parameters.
There's a spectrum of how professional you can take it.
Yeah,
and how much produced.
That's when I recognize because I thought Pewds was more of like a free because we saw so many like he did stuff on philosophy. He was cooking. He was doing. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, like he's just showing his life. But then, and maybe this is just at his point now. Like he wants to take things. He wants. I don't know, but.
So what did you see that made you realize that he was a control freak? Or
Because his reaction wasn't. It was more emotional.
are you
Then
talking
I've
about
seen him
when
react.
KSI claps? Are you talking about when he claps
I
weird?
can't. I'm so bad at seeing them. I just only understand what I felt, and then seeing the comments, I'm like, oh, so his followers
Okay, so
know and empathize with him. They like he's.
Yeah, they're like fellow introverts. I think they really
There's certain things. Yeah.
yeah. I think PewDiePie is king of
But
introverts.
he has.
That's really what it is.
Oh,
and
yeah.
so I think that's why people get defensive over him.
Yeah, when there's like this exposed part.
Yeah, because they feel like they're exposed.
Reacting. But I'm like, that's okay. I like YouTube because it's like, oh, that's normal.
You know what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
He just goes with it. But he doesn't understand.
What would you rate it?
I'd rate it out of 6.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing about, I feel like, KSI and PewDiePie. It's like they're completely different in terms of like extroverted and introverted spectrum.
Well, also in the UK, I think PewDiePie looks more whatever UKer looks like, so he has to he feels stupid not knowing those things. Whereas him, he's like, I'm used to being not looking like everybody else, whatever. Like, and he starts asking questions.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see if we can.
And we think it's more extroverted or raw or whatever, but I think it's because of also
being a minority.
Well, the way they had to express themselves growing up where they grew up and looking
right. I mean, we went through
like,
something similar. I feel like being a minority in the United States in a predominantly white neighborhood. But yeah, okay, let's keep going.
I feel like Mystique. If we were the X-Men, I had to be Mystique.
Okay, hold on. I want to get to this part where you think that PewDiePie is a control freak.
I mean, what?
No,
Wait, so you had
it's
a better time?
hold on. It's a compilation of all his videos. I'm like, but I'm not gonna like sidearm psychology, whatever. But the feeling when he felt exposed, because there are I realize is when he lets it out.
When KSI?
In a controlled manner. No.
Oh.
When PewDiePie lets those parts of his inner self out, it's very controlled.
Uh-huh.
And when someone else exposes it a little too harshly, he's like...
Okay, I want to see if we can get to that reaction.
I don't think you're ready.
And you have to realize even this is edited.
Yeah.
So I realize it's his view on this interaction.
This video was so long.
We got the Unas, Anas.
It was. Their interaction
animation
was
version.
so interesting.
It is.
They made friends. They
did
were
you watch
like,
the live
didn't
stream?
Yeah, I
know
watched it like
who
6,
they
7
were.
a.m.
Oh, shit.
And I saw it and I was like...
It's like seeing
wow, it's
stars
happening.
collide.
It just said deleted
Yeah, they had their niche of their market.
And
they're like introducing their kids to each other.
But they also, they're so...
like step parents.
Yeah, that's true. Because
Like
they have
the Brady Bunch.
Oh my god, that's exactly what it is. You're right. Because they
And
have
then
their
together
own
they got
subreddits.
like a even bigger...
We're the maid. Who's that lady? They had a nice like maid that like helped them.
I know, and I see her face.
Damn it.
Where, okay, they occupy a space digitally further than they are physically.
Yeah. Interesting. Because their humors are so different?
No, and everything about the way they make their videos, who their YouTubers are, who their subscribers are,
Yeah.
are like, you see through this miscommunication, and for them to have built those followers to understand the way they think, and then like they occupy a wholly different, there's not a good merger between those two follower base, is there?
No.
Compared
I don't
to
think
where
so.
they are physically located in the UK, like what the heck? Right?
Yeah.
I still don't understand how you saw him using Bandicam, by the way. It's
Oh yeah, that was another thing. The band, I don't know anything about that thing, but he was so
Embarrassed?
like, and only someone at his level of a YouTuber
Could
could
criticize him.
understand and see, and it's like you're another 1%er is picking on you as a 1%, but it's like, it's funny because
Only he can call him out for that.
yeah, and then the thing is, I feel like
PewDiePie's been on top for
PewDiePie's
so long.
exposure of that and still putting it out is what grows his fan base.
Because he's not
Because-
afraid to be vulnerable like that.
It's not cutting people off. It's, if you feel that way, come on in. Like, like, you know,
I think
and he lets it, even when he's feeling, and you can see it, and most times he would edit it and cut it out.
okay, sure, yeah. But I think that's why he gives the best reactions, because he can only
allows
give
the
genuine.
honesty.
He only has honesty, so he has to
Yeah.
cut it out. There's not a choice of being genuine or not being genuine. He can only be genuine, and that's why
No,
he has to edit it so
But
carefully.
people do that, though.
No, I know, but I think in his case, that's why he has to edit it down, because he can only be genuine, and that's
Yeah.
why he has to carefully put what's out there.
well done. Can you do the next meme clap for me? People will like it.
Okay. Next meme.
Fuck you. God damn it. Okay, there we go. Nice. Thank you, KSI, for the double clap. All right. Okay, I really like this next meme. It is
Was that it? That was the only time I feel like I've ever seen him get like kind of mad.
I think you just been around OCD people.
What a guy. That was a great interaction. That was actually the last video that we did that did well.
No, so I think about it. I'm like, why is it that his, because like you said, now the YouTube and all these other things, like there's actual numbers and things you can look at that gives you the data of like what people are looking at or what people want, or it's like he can't fake 100 million.
Well, you can't really get to 100 million by, I feel like, giving people what you think they want. And
Yes.
I think that's why that was PewDiePie's greatest strength, is that his goal wasn't to actually grow to 100 million subscribers. I think his goal was just to make videos that he wanted to make.
Yeah.
And that's why
Put
he's
out
still
there what
using
he wanted to
Bandicam,
create.
because it's still
And that's what's funny. He was so hurt by it.
it doesn't matter though, because it's like that's a tool to make the videos that he wants to make, even though they're low production to like anyone else. That's how he got to like
But
I think
appreciate that he still puts it out on the videos.
the originality of his like character is what I feel like grew him to 100 million. Not really, it wasn't really anything like strategy. It was just like he kept doing it and people related to him, and I think it was that simple. I think that's why KSI does well, is because he just is just like a regular guy. He doesn't really
Yeah.
pretend
There's
to
such
be
a market for,
anything that he is, and like people find it
Everybody-
relatable.
yes, if you tell your story, you'll probably find people who can relate.
Oops.
Hopefully. Maybe that's why people don't want to tell their stories. What if I'm the only weirdo?
Wow, it's 7:30 or it's 7:20. So we're like 4 hours and 20 minutes in.
So this would be the halfway. You're definitely over the
Yeah, so
hump.
this would be where the like in the ayahuasca trip where the guy starts lighting up the candles because you're
Yeah, so now
over.
he's like, okay, what are we doing and how do we want to maximize this experience? You're at that like kind of logic thinking. No?
Yeah,
Or do
yeah,
you not
you're
get
at the.
that way with LSD?
I mean,
Maybe
because the
I'm just
trip
too
lasts for like
utilitarian.
the trip lasts for like 8 hours, and so the obviously this, yeah, after the halfway point, it's pretty. The worst is
You
already
know, I get
experienced.
why people freak out because if you've never had to sit alone in your thoughts, you've never been left alone to your own thoughts, you don't know how to organize them.
So what is that a problem of? Just people not being.
People always being told what to do and how to do it.
Oh,
And the people who are really good at just doing it, then they struggle to find who they are because they feel like they just
well, yeah, it's easier to follow directions than just to like think for yourself. Because then if you're told what to do, then you don't have to think.
and I think that was my problem. I thought everyone would want to think.
Guess
I
it's
thought
is that
that's
what projecting is?
feels good to think. And I didn't realize for so many people that's like more of a painful response.
Yeah, so do you think it's just because they've been just told what to do?
Or just not have to sit and sort it out in their thoughts.
I mean, when would you not have the time to do that though? What? I don't
Lots of kids who are like their schedules are jam packed. And then by the time they get home, they don't have any of their like me time. Just like go to bed, get to school, learn stuff, go to your soccer practice or whatever your parents decide you're going to do for the next hour or 2 hours. And it's like some kids get lost in that because they just like they're good at like being not bad at those things.
Uh-huh.
But then I think they saw like so YouTube has let me see things that like production stuff, high production stuff. I felt always hid. And it's like those interactions and those videos in PewDiePie's videos. I'm just like, oh, like, and I can't explain it. But it's what people see and like get from it beyond its like what they're saying.
Because it's not edited.
Or what they're
It's
but it
because-
is edited. He
No,
does
but
like
and it's not edited. It's edited by
himself.
or a person that he chose.
Oh yes.
It's
I
not-
know. I realize when
When a
PewDiePie
TV
relinquishes to an editor. and
Yeah,
like, okay,
he only
fine,
has
you
one of
get
two,
to-
and now it's only one of one, and it's Sive.
one that doesn't piss him off too much about like
Yeah, apparently he only has one editor.
yeah. That's why I'm like
I-
wow. I think
Very,
that's
you're
the
right.
interest-
That's why I didn't
because
realize.
I'm like I don't relate to this dude. Who is this guy? Like.
But now that, but so
But
you
watching
find
more
him
videos
more-
and only watching those interactions is like why am I feeling like I could be a part of that community or like what makes me relate to this? And it's like, oh, you pinpoint. Oh, I obviously can't pinpoint. We've been trying for this one, but like there's a feeling that I get from that person or the product that they're selling. What or the
Well,
image,
there's
and
an
it's like,
I think
and there's a point where you get sold on it because
I think a person's reactions to things shows like it's almost like the closest you can get to like an instinct, like to like a
their
person,
primal
like how
instinct,
right.
how
And
they
so I
would
think
react.
when people allow them, and I think that's like the allure of like reality television and now like YouTube, when people allow themselves, and why reactionary videos are so big on
Naked
YouTube.
and Afraid XL. I
Right,
watched that
when-
whole thing.
when people
with
allow
the commercials.
themselves for their reactions to be shown, I think people who would react in a similar way feel like a much
validated in
Right.
their reaction.
But I
or,
think it's
like,
also a
feeling the
much
way they
faster
do.
way to find people who are like you, because you're like, yes, that's how I would react.
Yeah, and then how did you fix it? Or if you
Right.
didn't like how did you deal with it?
So
Or
I
what
think
did you...
people like PewDiePie or KSI, because they're like they put their reactions out there and it's very vulnerable. But it's like, this is my reaction. Like, I can't help it. I think that's maybe what people like you find.
because they grew up in a different
Well,
time, like they
well,
are
I think that's what
bound by certain things that my generation, but those were our limitations in the
right. There's still something in that reaction that you find like a kinship with, or like something very like
Human.
that you can relate to. And I think that's what makes that all of a sudden makes all of his content relatable, because it puts it in the filter of like, oh, this guy reacts like me.
yes, it gives
Yeah.
you perspective.
But I think that's why that's the strength of YouTube, is because the barrier of entry to be on YouTube is just, you just have to have a phone or what, like you have to have
Yeah.
a video, that's it, and then something that can and like browser access, and so anyone can be a YouTuber. Whereas
Somewhere
like,
out there is like a minute
where
of like
if you
my
wanted-
chicks when
right.
they were babies.
but if you wanted to be on like Hulu or Netflix or HBO, like, or Amazon, you have to go
Well,
through a studio,
yes,
and your
there's
content
a
has to be
very specific way to get.
produced. So I think
Yes.
YouTube is actually like, it's almost like the new
It's the decentralized. It's the
the
Wikipedia of
new place for
encyclopedias.
people to find talent. Now it's like where
It's the indie
people
films.
used to go out to like improv, or improv troops, or go up to like stand-up gigs to like try to find talent. Now they just have to go to YouTube,
Yeah.
like, because they're just there. You don't have to like go find them. You can just look on your computer, and there's new YouTubers being added every day. It's crazy. But
Oh, it's crazy.
I think that's the thing. It's like, I think people
That's made
beginning-
me come out and put more pictures and stuff.
But I
Because
think-
I'm like,
yeah.
there's so much out there now. Like, who cares?
But I think
Before I didn't want to stand out.
we're
And I was
beginning
like,
to
no, you
like
can't.
value. I think people are like, why are reactionary videos like getting so big? Even I was like, why are reactionary videos getting so big? And I think
Isn't that what news is?
no, it's like if you were watching a video of someone reacting to the news. Like, the news is delivered to you in a way, but then someone
Because
reacting
everyone
to
gets
that.
the facts
Yeah.
the way the facts are. It's
Right.
like,
And
but
so
how
to
do
see
those
someone
facts
like freak
affect you?
out to it or not freak out to it, that's what you want to,
Yeah,
I think,
like-
feel viscerally. And I think that's what a lot of people, I think, get through YouTubers, is like they get to kind of like elicit that reaction and like almost get the probably like the mental equivalent of actually like doing it, but like, because it's like the reaction that they would give.
Then that's not good.
I don't know. That's why it's like, why
That
is
can be
reactionary
tricky.
content being so? It's grown huge,
Making
and
you feel that's bad for its consumers, thinking that they're doing things that they're not, and accomplishing things that they're not.
well, I think that's why it's up to the content creators, to be honest.
Yes.
But I think that's, if you're dishonest though, I feel like the longevity of the content creators can't go as long. Like,
Yeah.
if what you're doing is like farther away from like who you are as a person, like Joji and Filthy Frank, I think is a good example. I think Filthy Frank was like it was like a character that he made, but it was kind of far away from like his core identity. So
Well, at the
The
time,
long-
it was like when he was in that stage of his life, it worked perfectly. It was
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like,
no, it was a
the
great-
best friend. But then it's like what Inside Out, the elephant guy,
yeah, no,
imaginary friend.
and I think that's what genuinity or like offers, is like longevity in like a YouTuber's career. And so I think because PewDiePie started as like not really like a character. He just wanted to be himself. That's why he was able to be there
we
for
see
10
cooking
years.
videos. We
Right.
see like
But the same thing
gaming
goes
videos.
for
We
like Joe
see,
Rogan,
like,
I think. Like his
I don't know. Okay.
his longevity
so I guess
lies
the
in his
crap
authenticity.
Talking on Joe, I know Joe Rogan himself, but the stuff I hear about him, I can't say I don't listen to many of his podcasts except
I'm
what
just
you give
talking
me,
in
but
terms
people
of
talk
longevity.
crap about him now. I'm like, is it the same thing I'm hearing and I feel about Disney in that they're
Probably.
just bigger and
Yeah.
that's why I see it like or feel that there's negativity
You know,
more than it's not that it's more, it's just that they're like you said, they're a bigger target.
Yeah, so Joe Rogan, I feel like before the 2016 election, just he wasn't really on anyone's radar. But then he did like the Bernie Sanders interview, and then he did like Andrew Yang, Edward Snowden. He started doing interviews with these guys that like Conan O'Brien wasn't doing, Stephen Colbert wasn't doing.
They weren't allowed to.
Right, but then he was giving these guys an hour, 3 hours, like as long as they wanted to talk.
Which is what we needed. Like we needed to hear those people.
So unfortunately, like
But
I think he's become a target because he was giving those political people an avenue to speak. He's become a target for basically
if you're not allowing
liberals think he's too conservative. Conservatives think he's too liberal. Do you know what I mean? He's in this
now
weird
you put
middle
yourself
ground.
on the field. Now you're a target.
But also,
But now you're also a player.
His celebrity has also grown
That's what I'm
because I feel
saying.
like of his genuine and you know
Yeah,
Spotify,
now
the
you're a
licensing
player.
deal, like people. I think like he didn't expect to grow this big, and I think he still is the same Joe Rogan as he was, like, you know, the guy who was like talking about DMT and like chimps. It's just, yeah, he's just grown, like he's just a huge target now for everyone.
Well, there's just more room for disappointment on the people who like want him to stay in that certain character. Or
And that's the
image.
thing I think everyone learns with like the scale
Relationships
of
with
their
people that it has to always change
No. I think in
and
terms
maneuver
of
and grow.
there's a weird like moment where you realize like everything you speak is like public and like it's like and like PewDiePie I feel like realized
you let it out. You let it out.
Right, and I think well Joe Rogan he's been in the public face for like a long time and I think he's always been really careful about like what he's saying because
He's had practice
with PR.
I don't think people realize how many years this guy has been in the industry.
Because
Like,
his
and
looks different.
People think that it might have come. I'm like, this guy, if you don't know what a workaholic is,
Oh yeah.
don't think you can do a podcast and just blow it out like he did. If you're not going to put,
Yeah, and he
do you
still
know
does
the hours and the sweat and the stuff he put into and like the
he
knowledge
still does his like
that-
stand up and
Yes,
he
he
still
still
does all of his
does
other work.
all his other stuff, all his contractual stuff that he's obligated to hold to. Like he
Yeah.
couldn't keep getting those gigs if he messed up on any of those business dealings along the way. But
I know. Joe Rogan, you want to do a tab with us? Let's do a tab and do an
But I guess
episode
that's
together.
why I'm. People are like, "Oh, why are you so like upset when people talk shit?" I'm like, I guess it's that same what I felt like the commenters defending PewDiePie felt like this guy's just trying to do what he does. Like,
I know.
yeah, you get defensive on their part because you're like, this is just me being me.
Yeah, that's the
Like, I
interesting
can't-
thing about
Fit everybody's expectations.
fandoms is that it's like you feel like
But
you
for
need
the
to
most
defend
part,
them.
they're able to look. Good leaders and celebrity leaders are able to look their fandom in the eye and be like, "Y'all gone too crazy. Like, don't be doxing people. Don't be bullying. Like, you know."
Yeah, no, I think they do that.
Yeah. If my problem is everything starts to turn gray and shitty, like I tell people, take off your rose-colored glasses. Everything's like, you know. But mine's like, take off your shitty stained glasses. And it's like, oh, there it is.
You feel like that's what LSD helps you do.
Yeah, brings back the vibrancy, the emotions, the humanity, the like laughter, even if everything smells like shit.
Or sounds annoying.
got technology to noise cancellation, transparency. Like, what? We're so spoiled.
They're so
I'm
spoiled.
like, I get to decide what goes in front of my face.
I know, in layers.
In layers, and
like, what's in
I
my
want to
first
see
layer?
what happened in the past.
There's this is it Ronnie Chang? He has this joke where it's like every night it's like he's just trying to shove as many screens as he can in his face. It's like iPhone, iPad, computer, TV, watch.
It's like looking at the night sky. I was like, when I was young and I would feel alone, I would find comfort in knowing that anyone can look up and see the same sky I'm seeing. And then
Gay.
when I got older and I was like, I'm like, yeah, I need to find your individuality. Then you're like, you know what? No matter where you're standing and what time, no one sees the sky in this exact, like all the plates are shifting constantly.
Yeah,
So the only
Einstein.
person to be able to like see the image you see at that point is just you.
Okay, so you change your mind,
So
basically.
no, you just see different sides of
Yeah.
it. You can't.
Yeah, I mean,
You can't swing too hard. Either you swing too hard either way,
you know, that's the weird thing about the
and you
universe.
just like
is
knock
that
yourself out and coming around.
two observers in different parts of the universe can experience time differently, like
Oh, it's
or
like my
events
kids.
differently.
Like they don't even see the stop. I'm like, is it red? It's not red. It's
Yeah.
it's like oh, and then they're like, oh yeah, you were right. Now that I'm seeing it
Yeah,
from
so no
here.
wonder we can't agree on anything. No one looks at anything the same.
Oh shit. The problem is, we think we're the center and we're not.
No, because I'm the center. Duh, everyone knows.
No, we're on the center.
No. Yes, because I'm here.
Fine. Here, I'll step on you.
No.
Oh no, I know. So I'm like, okay. Before it used to be like, what can't I figure out that I want to sit there and like, kind of
Like math?
contemplate. Maybe not math, but maybe other things that like kind of bother me. But you're like everything else takes
Oh, I see.
priority. So during your relaxed time, well, for me, being like incessant problem solver, so my relaxing time is still somewhat
You're
problem solving.
you still have to you still have to be productive when you're relaxing because otherwise you're not.
Even if I'm producing shit. Someone gonna use that shit. Dung beetles. I don't know. No, I'm not an elephant.
Wait, so what problem do you try to
Whether it's my own problems or business problems or
I guess that's true.
things where you're like, why do I keep doing that? And it's like, oh, this is a good time to like really question yourself
Yes.
because you're kind of honest, more honest than you are. Like people lie to themselves all the time. This is why we need therapy. And other people to tell you, like you need sounding boards. It's not like letting out secrets. It's like getting a reality check. But sorry.
So so the
this.
problem that you tried to I guess solve.
Oh yeah, it could be either in my personal life or
Yeah.
whether it's business or whatever it is. That's what I like using my trips for.
Yeah, I realize too. I like to work on a few creative projects at a time. So one we're actually
This is
working
a
on.
long trip, 8 hours. You got to fill your time with like
Right. And
not
so
just enjoying things.
I actually really do enjoy working on LSD. It's like one of my favorite things, and I think.
I think any creative person will.
Right, and so it really gives me a chance to chisel out some creative projects. Like the one we're working on, it's called Blazing Asians. It's like the story of our life. I want Ali Wong to play Yarny's character. Ali Wong, if you're out there, you're the best. Oh my god, I'm gonna put this in this video because it was so funny. So I got to see Ali Wong live. I was so fortunate, and then her second Netflix special came out,
I
And
only
it was-
watched it because you told me about it, and
Okay,
I
so
thought it was hilarious.
If you guys don't know who Ali Wong is, she did one Netflix special, and it was like a set, right? And then I saw her live, and that was like a new set. It was like a new set of jokes. And so her second Netflix special was that set, the set that I saw. But there was one joke taken out. And so there was this joke about how when you know, if both like you and your spouse is working, and then you have a baby together, and then you invite like a help, like a nanny or someone to help.
Yeah,
that
the
is
burden
like,
of a baby is a lot. So then, like,
right?
How are you gonna juggle?
She says that is just a marriage bomb, and it's like she's like, I am not gonna hire some hot, like young, like little, you know, like thing to like take care of like my baby, but also to be a marriage bomb.
Especially when, so women as biological beings, we know what it is to have sexual drive.
She talks about it too.
Yeah, and you're like, and
so
women aren't always on the not giving side. Sometimes they're just as frustrated as the not receiving side.
Right. And she goes into all of that. And so what she says is she's only going to hire old ladies, like old.
Right, like it's their job is just to help take care of the kids.
And so she says she only
they
hires.
Don't fulfill any other duties.
She only hires old Ukrainian ladies because they're like white people on sale.
Well, unless her husband's got some kind of weird fetish. I'm just kidding.
No, but if you've ever met a Ukrainian, you know they look like they have like
Babushkas?
blue eyes. They have like
racist.
blonde hair, but they speak with like a Russian accent, and the
because
labor's
they're
like
like
really
the
cheap.
Eastern Europeans. They're like so when you got a homogenous society, it's hard to tell when they're racist against other, like they're like, wait, they look the same.
But yeah, she took that joke out. The white people on it's like Ukrainians are like white people on sale. I thought it was so funny, but she kept the marriage bomb in there. And then she even went so far as to describe. No, she described her housekeeper, and I think she even described her as Ukrainian, but she didn't say the line, maybe I forget. But I remember like thinking like, oh, there was a punchline there that she took out, and I thought it was really interesting. Or maybe she just forgot it.
Certain things you're not allowed to say. She might have.
Because you don't forget a line that good.
Okay.
That's why I'm saying I don't think she forgot it.
I think comedians can come up with lines that are good, and then once they hit their right, they're just trying to see who they can hit, and then once they've got an audience that they like and they want to keep captivated, that's when they can start editing.
It was just such a funny joke,
being
though.
Able to remove very obvious stuff, and those followers can like pick up on that, or the people who just can relate to it.
Yeah,
don't have to be offended by what you say outright, but they can understand what you're saying by what you.
Anyways, yeah, Ali Wong.
Express without words.
You get to play Yarny. You get to smoke a lot of weed. You get to do LSD. I mean, you know, in the show. Anyways, yeah, Blazing Asians.
Where people think like, yeah, you got it. I'm like, I don't know. I just see so many. Like everything's in focus. That's what's not real about this.
What is the log?
Well, okay, but what's real about it is wherever I focus, it's in focus. See, I write so many notes too. I'm like, how do you keep it organized? You get to a point where you're so old, you have notes upon notes upon notes. I forget. I'm not taking any more notes.
Blazing Asians. Ali Wong, you can be a part of it. We have, I'm cutting this down. I wanted these to be 8 episodes in the first season, but we have our pilot, Coachella LSD. Oh, we actually kind of told that story today. Cryptocurrency strategians, take a chill pill. This is all stuff that we've done. Crazy. Black market, white church, LA wholesale, CBD, shrooms.
We don't sell anything. We don't.
Well, this is just in the first season. And then the second season, we go into coding school, the K-Town dispensary, networking, and then pitching a tech startup. The third season, we actually go to Silicon Valley, building the coding team, pitching that business to investors. And then season 4, COVID, YouTube, and building our own merch store. And then, I guess, pitching to Ali Wong. would be right here.
I was like, I also like to take the acid trips allow me to do like a quick look back of the year.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess so.
And I was thinking, wow, I remember thinking in January, okay, this is year I'm going to get my shit together. Quite literally, I said that. I'm going to go back to normal. And my normal was going back to my church.
And then your church disappeared.
Flanked by my husband and my gay best friend. But none of my female friends were there because they were on a women's retreat. And then we're at the sermon and I'm like, I think I'm pretty much, I'm sure I'm high because I'm like, how else would I get back into this? But, and then fucking Trung nudges me. He's like, Kobe died.
That couldn't have been at New Year. Wait, so
This was in January
Okay,
when I finally decided at the end of the year before. I'm like, I'm gonna get my crap together and I'm gonna like,
and then Kobe died.
No, and then I go back to church and I do that, and then COVID, and then I'm like, how do you go back to normal? There's like,
I know. Thanks, Kobe. God.
Kobe.
It's both their faults. It's just so sad.
No, but then that's when you're like, as a control freak, there's things that are just out of your
PewDiePie.
out of your hands. So it's like, all right, maybe I'll make for some good TV.
I mean, yeah, that was our
survive to the next round, guys.
What was our?
Who can make it to the last round?
That was our strategy. If we couldn't go out and network, then we would at least just make the content at home because everyone's gonna be at home.
Network digitally,
right?
The
exactly.
Shit I couldn't understand. I'm like, and yet people are making connections worldwide constantly.
So that actually explains why we look
wanted
so
to be part of this,
closely at like PewDiePie and like Joe Rogan and like other YouTubers who have
or any
longevity.
of the content creators.
And I think that gave us more, or at least me, more confidence to do it, is because I didn't feel like the person, like their public persona and the person that they were, had to be two different people. I felt like YouTube
That's a normal old business.
Right. And I feel like Conan O'Brien feels like his like stage presence has to be different, and that's why his like podcast is a little bit different than a show, is because he feels like he can be more of himself on his show.
But that's the thing. We grew up in that generation where if you don't differentiate, it's not good. So to overcome
right, but I think
that,
but now to be on YouTube and see people that are successful at it who are just themselves. They don't have to be a persona, or they don't have to like put on anything other than who they are. I think is what made me realize like, oh, we can just be ourselves. Like and then
you don't have to. Oh yeah, you don't have to create anything because you're
right.
the one that
the editing
has
and everything
the
can get
creative
better.
Burden. I'm just like, okay, where do I have to be? What do I have to do?
No, but that's when I realized like, the value of authenticity, or the value of reactions, or like kind of just even the value of just making content is huge. And so I think the fact that like COVID hit, it put us in a really weird like hole, but also opportunities to do the thing that we were actually talking about the show for a while.
Like I said, it was on a back burner because everything else was like important. But that's the thing. The things out of control will change, and you have to like reorganize your priorities so quickly. Mm-hmm. And it could be advantageous.
Yeah, and so this show came out as a way for us to network because we can't go to networking events anymore. I had to, I had to move down from Silicon Valley. It was, I mean, it was fine. I didn't really care, to be honest. But we had to do something.
Well, that's because you survive anywhere.
Sure, but yeah. Anyways,
that's different than
I could survive anywhere.
Trying to build a community where it's not built of everybody just like you.
Who tries to build communities like that?
I think that's
Communities
when,
of people that are just themselves.
yeah, that's the
seems
rugged
terrible.
individualism that
I guess
has
that's-
happened and people see.
I guess that's a very healthy self identity. Like if everyone was just like me,
Healthy?
everything would be better. It's like really, that's how you think?
Is that what we call narcissism?
You gave birth to yourself. You don't need help from anyone.
I guess. It's that fine line, coming to the realization that you have the capacity to change things. And then once you've changed them, to turn around and be like, everybody has that capacity, but it doesn't mean that they were given the same raw goods.
Wait, what? Capacity to what?
To change, to.
But then what is the raw goods part then?
Because some people
The resources
are,
to change. So everyone has the
So-
same capacity to change, but not everyone is given the same resources.
yes.
Sure, yeah.
So that's how someone like you can recognize someone would need help. They can't just do it all on their own.
Oh,
Because you can see that.
but
And there's
those
other
people
who are
might
like,
not have
"Nope."
had those resources to change. I guess yeah.
Yeah, they're like,
because-
nope, you need to start. I start at zero, you start. Everyone started at zero. It's like there was no people were underground.
You know, if you look at this purely on like economics or like game theory or whatever you want to call it, it is a gamble every time you change because you
Are
don't.
you changing for the
the
better?
uncertain-
For
the return is uncertain when you
Yes.
change, right? And there's that classic humans don't like to lose more than they like to win. And so there's like a I forget what they like offer you like $1 and they're like like heads or tails, and like if it's heads, like you win the dollar, but if it's tails, you lose the dollar. And like people would rather just take the dollar instead of just like gaining more. I don't know what the exact experiment is, but that was the
I'm
economic
sure there's
conclusion.
a term that after that whole experience, there's a term that we're missing. That's what
It is.
the
It is
language, and there's a
people-
term that comes up, and we're like, oh yeah, that's that
Well,
fallacy.
the saying is people don't like to lose more than they like to win, and so
okay, the hurt of losing is more memorable than the joy of winning.
yes. And so I think people make their decisions like.
Something like that.
I think that's why people are
Risk adverse?
Risk adverse, right? It is because they don't like to lose.
What I find is so confusing, which confuses me, is, and I always try to remember, I have to come back
But
to
sorry.
what
When we're talking about resources of change, I think that's what it is. It's like people are given the chance to try those other points of views, and or come back if they don't like it. And I think that's what like maybe solidifies people into like some habits
It's
of
not about coming back. It's just about getting a better rounded perspective.
well, just being able to change
No one's
your mind.
wrong or right.
I guess that's what you mean by capacity to change is being
yes.
able to change your mind. But then I think people, it's like that feeling of they don't like to lose more than like to win. So it's if they don't have to change their mind, they don't want to.
Sunken.
No, but it's like you don't. I don't know what. Yeah,
Like you've already invested.
it's like
too
the
much.
green.
It's
is
like when I
the
tell
grass
people,
isn't greener.
No, like when some of my girlfriends and they're like gonna walk into a marriage, sometimes I'm just like,
Sunk
just-
cost fallacy. Maybe.
yes, that I'm like, you can make that money back. You can like, but you. I don't know, but some people are so adamant on like this is.
I don't
what
know who's to
get
say
to
what's
do.
right and wrong. Anyways, like
I'm gonna do it this way.
If
It's like
every-
okay.
if everyone was supposed to live by like purely economics, then no one would survive. like how would you make any
that's why
decisions?
I feel
mean,
like
other than
humans are aliens, alien life form. If we don't, it's like what philosophy. If you don't have a philosophy, what drives your science? Like
capitalism, duh. Stupid.
So your philosophy is capitalism?
No, I know. I get what you
Because
mean.
I'm like, that's not my philosophy. And I think that's one of my biggest cruxes I go against with people who are like, oh, if you want to succeed in business, this is how you do it. But that's kind of not the way I want to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get it. I think that's what we were talking about before of like it's easier to
So you just dose them with acid. I'm like,
No, it's
you
easier-
can see my path.
it's easier
If
to
I give you 2 tabs, I'll try titrate. I'm just.
it's easier to receive instruction than to like think for yourself. And so it's like
Is it?
yeah, absolutely.
I think it's so much harder to receive instructions.
No, because if you're just told what to do and that's all you needed to do to survive, then of course that's easier.
Oh, my biggest problem is doing what I'm told.
If you don't
just like,
see
do whatever the fuck I want.
if you don't see the value in it, yeah, I think you reserve the right to make your decision. But if you were told to do something and it made sense to you, I don't think you'd have a problem doing it.
Oh
But
yeah, I
think
have
you
no problems
reserve-
with like following rules. Or
Yeah,
like,
yeah. I
doing,
think
like,
you just reserve the right to make that decision. Like you don't
Uh-huh.
instinctively follow everything that you're told, but if it makes sense to you, you'll do it. And that's what I think people naturally like is like if it make like they would rather receive instruction that made sense to them so they can just do it rather than always having to like question like
Oh, then just stay in bed and go to sleep.
no, but
That's
then
what I would do
that's
if
why
I liked that.
I think that's why
And that's my temptation.
that's the survival mechanism of like habit forming. It's like this is what worked,
Keeps us
so
safe.
just keep doing that.
Survive.
But yeah, not everyone has the resources
Which
of
is a
LSD.
concept that humans came up with.
Just to live as long as you can and don't get eaten by the hyenas.
But that's a story we came up with. Who says we get eaten?
I feel like if you ever played the game Red Dead Redemption, I feel like we've been eaten
I've told you
even
before,
in
the
America.
only games I've seen are the ones
my
I mean,
God.
I don't play them. I've only watched them or I've only gotten them by references or what you've showed me.
There's like
Like Last of Us 2. That's,
Right.
that's the first video game I've ever, like... I've
know the
only
movie
been
The
on
Revenant?
forums.
with Leonardo DiCaprio where he gets attacked by that bear.
Yeah, I watched that because it was like, oh, that was a true story of some dude who, like, survived some horrendous stuff like that.
Yeah, that's like we weren't living that long from that. So yeah, like we were like hunted in this like in our own country before like we invented guns and stuff. I think people are still hunted by bears. That's why you're not supposed to lock your cars in certain places in Alaska because you have to always have a place to hide from a polar bear.
Yeah, because you're basically condemning someone to die if you don't give them safe refuge.
Of course we need to survive from
I think that's
the
what
bears
we've
and the hyenas.
always
It's not just a
recognized,
story.
and that's why we want to
No, but the
kill them
hyena
or
story-
or cage them up.
The hyena
because
story
it's
isn't just a
scary.
story we tell ourselves. We are literally hunted by nature.
I don't think we're hunted by nature.
Well, that's true.
I think that's a story that's been told. Like, who's hunting us?
Then why do we have so many like survival? I think it's just, but we're questioning like why do we
Okay.
form like habit forming like
Like,
survival?
oh yeah,
like,
you can't
it's
just
because-
not drink water for 40 days or like
yeah. I think these survival things
Things
have
that we've
built up
learned.
because we've had to learn how to survive from nature, and things
I
have naturally
guess
hunted people like
what
in
people
nature.
say survive. I feel like it's just learning.
Isn't it both though? I mean, there are things that we've learned like instinctually that like I feel like we're born with, but then there are things that we have to learn as we get older to be a part of like
When we were-
society.
First coming up, you were talking about mitochondria and how like
Yeah,
and
it
that
wasn't
image,
originally part of the
it's
cell.
like, yeah, so there are parts where in that timeline, if that cell didn't do that and they didn't learn to work together, they couldn't beat out their competitors.
So unless you do LSD, you won't be able to beat out your competitors. That's what
You're
Steve
not
Jobs
gonna-
said.
You're not going to get into our line of thinking.
So Joe Rogan, get back to us. We have these orange gel tabs.
Space is infinite, but our trajectory is unique.
Is that Einstein? Is that Einstein saying that?
No, I said that right now
Oh, okay.
on my acid trip. Neurons working. And not worried about, did my kid have lunch? Are they going to survive?
Oh yeah,
Oh, are they counting Monday's school?
I spent $30 on McDonald's, so we didn't have to worry about that.
Jeez, what are we feeding our children?
What are you talking about? Nothing's open. I don't want to.
America's
It's
got
New Year's.
Teflon in our blood. That's how you can test
What a
if
way
we're
to.
true Americans. Take a sample of my blood.
What? Oh wait, let's just check my blood sugar levels.
No, Teflon. And there's chemicals in our blood
Oh,
that will show where you were raised.
gross.
And Americans are eating stuff that,
Oh,
consuming stuff
okay. That's actually really interesting that you
that
say
I'm
that.
like, wait, I was fostering parrots and I'm not allowed to have this because it can quite literally kill them within how many minutes of those fumes? And then I did research on like Teflon and whatever. I'm like, why I should not have that in my house anymore. It's not going to just kill my parrots. Like, it's not good for us, but
Teflon. Oh, I can take that.
there's a lot of other stuff. You see the requirements for the food, processed foods that go to Europeans compared to what we're allowed to eat in America.
Mm-hmm.
We apparently like to just give shit to our kids. And show up beautiful outwardly.
As long as we can make money off of it, it's fine. Yeah, why do we have so many corn subsidies?
Corn was what grew best, fastest. I don't know. Yeah, I told Miguel, I'm like, it's not normal for like dogs to be eating corn.
You know what I often think about?
He's like, what? Why are they eating corn?
Yeah, why do we eat so much corn? Well, no, I mean, obviously, yeah, why do we make so
And
much
then he
corn
looks
and
at
eat
me,
so
he's
much
like, well,
corn?
you're eating McDonald's, so get out of here with me eating my high fructose corn syrup now. Because he's addicted
I
to
like-
soda.
Yeah, soda's
Tomo
hard.
la Coca-Cola. All the Cubans told me, don't let him drink the Coke. And I was like, what's that mean?
He drinks too much soda? I don't see him drinking that much soda.
Well, now it's like more of a budgetary constraint.
Oh, right.
Not like a dietary constraint. But when there was
No, I mean,
His-
soda is
okay,
honestly, it's one
the
of the hardest
concept
things to
of
kick.
all you can eat
Oh, yeah.
from someone who comes from a socialist country
Cuba.
is like, what do you mean all you can eat?
Oh, yeah, the concept
he
doesn't-
came from Havana, Cuba to Orange County, California. And the first meal I took him to was El Torito brunch on a
El Torito is a
welcome to America.
an
Like
all-you-can-eat
all you can eat, all you can
Mexican
drink. Like none
buffet.
of this looking at the menu and asking if it's in season or if it's
Uh-huh.
did you get
yeah.
the shipment
You just
to
go
make the plate.
and put as much as you can on your plate, and then you go and you eat, and then you don't even have to bring your plate. You just leave it there,
and it
and you go-
disappears. Someone
Yeah.
brings it, and you're like,
and
oh.
you go and you pick up another plate, and you put as much food as you can, and you go back. It's disgusting, actually, when you think about it.
I got him addicted to the American dream. Like the minute he landed,
The American dream just alludes to your stomach first, and then that's how it keeps you here.
biology. Which, if you understand, we're like constrained by that.
Honestly,
here
no,
on
okay.
Earth. We are constrained by this biology, and the more we understand it, the better we can work with it.
So yeah, I didn't, until I was like 26. That's when I tried weed for the first time. But I didn't even really drink alcohol like that much. And so,
our family was like
right. And so after I smoked
New
weed,
Year's was going on a fast.
New Year's was going to
And
church.
That's what I'm
It's
saying.
so boring.
I would have my own psychedelics and wrestling with God because I was on a 40-day fast. I took that stuff seriously. Like I wasn't eating.
Yeah,
And that causes like, I mean,
that was your old school
meditation.
psychedelic.
Yeah,
trip.
when
You know,
drugs were
biblical.
made illegal.
That's when Jesus tripped.
God was like, this is how you do it.
Thanks, Jesus. Anyways, no. So after I tried weed and then LSD and then like shrooms, I realized the hardest thing for me to quit was like soda. It was like specifically soda. And I think there
High
is like,
fructose corn syrup.
well, okay, so what happens and
Because I don't think you would have gotten addicted to the soda in Cuba.
No,
Did
but
you
I think
try the 2 cola?
what happens is I think your gut biome actually is like
Adjusts to it.
yeah, it adjusts to it
Yes.
and like so that's why you have such crazy like cravings for it. And that's why I had to drink so much like sparkling water because I was
Mhm.
like if I can
The
get the
only
carbon
way
monoxide
your body can get nutrients, they become the gatekeepers, the ones that are breaking down the stuff you're consuming. And so if you keep consuming that, your gatekeepers are going to get better. Your
Right.
biology is so good that like they'll.
But like
then they can't break down the good stuff you need.
like coffee, I still don't really have an issue like quitting. I can quit anything at any time, even weed. But
You
like
don't have an addictive
sugar,
personality, but that's
no, but
also a
okay.
mental thing.
Saying that, yeah, I don't have an addictive personality. Sugar legitimately took 3 months, at least 3 months of
And
like.
that's not even a big thing. Like
No, I know,
3
but
months?
just to
That's just
cut
breaking
the
a habit.
craving. Right, but that's I think the power of sugar and like
That
don't-
it's habit forming. Well, that's
we
just
don't
like
treat
eating
sugar
is...
seriously, and that's why we have like diabetes out of control in America. It's like
No, because normally
I don't think we're supposed to ingest this much sugar.
disconnected by we are so disconnected from the source and the energy it costs to consume the things we're consuming. Like
Yeah. Like when I look at traditional Korean food and it's like, oh, it's like mostly like roots. Like it's
yeah,
like seaweed.
and it's seasonal
Seaweed soup.
because they had to
Right, they don't have a lot of meat. Korean barbecue is like an LA thing. Like it's a really recent Americanized.
Meat is very rare and usually come in the form of seafood.
Right.
Because Korea.
Yeah, Korea fishes a lot, and
that's why I wanted an outdoor kitchen.
Yeah, and so that's
I
when I
realized a lot of the things I was accustomed to eating were stinky.
No, but that's when I realized.
Oh, people don't.
I am consuming
and
way.
I smoke weed now.
Yeah,
now I'm just stinky as fuck.
That's when I realized like I'm consuming way too much sugar and like meat because when I look back at just like a generation ago at like what Koreans were eating, it was not near like it was just.
It's not what we're eating, and you can't say what Koreans are eating in America are the same as what.
No, but it's like much more like balanced. I felt like it wasn't as like crazy as like meat in every like red meat in every like meal and like there was more
that's
like
just the Americanization of it. That's
no, I know, and so that's why I feel like we need to kind of go back to how we used to eat.
He's like, "Are all you guys gonna eat vegetables?" I was like,
"Vegetables?"
So Miguel's perspective when he came, and I was like, "Oh, this is how like Korean food." He's like, "Where's the meat?"
Where's the meat? Oh,
where's the meat? And that's when I realized, oh, I come from more of a vegetarian diet, and that's why I had a hard time like getting accustomed to the Cuban or the American diet.
Yeah, I think we eat too much meat in America. And sugar. We eat too much meat and sugar. That's why our kids are all fat and dying.
Who made our nutrition diagram? And if you follow the money, it's a little suspicious.
Yeah, no, I can never be vegan because like I can't ever give up cheese. But
that's a good thing.
Even
there are proteins and animal fats and stuff that like you can get and that are good for you, but you don't have to like do it the way we consume it.
But like even I'm saying like we eat too much red meat. I actually cut down on all like the only red meat I feel like I eat now is just like steaks. Like I think I try to limit it to just like
it's
really protein, like raw material.
Amino acids are necessary for joint lubrication. You get too much, you get gout, crystallization. Like, anyways, it's like we're always trying to find that middle ground. Like, not too far. You're gonna kill yourself.
So, are there any things that you felt like you appreciate? Oh wait, hold on. What were we talking about before? Yeah, sugar was so hard.
Oh, for me, in these recordings and stuff, was like I wanted to journal our acid trips in a way that I used to only do. My way was written journals, and it's like sometimes you're so high you can't write.
Well, I mean,
or type.
This is a unique opportunity for both of us. I feel like because there's not
Or
When I
no one's
watched-
recording
Yeah.
conversations.
no one's
That's the problem.
recording. I feel like
to
after
record
the
the
Vsauce.
conversation.
Okay, so that Michael that Minefield episode where he takes ayahuasca in Peru. It's produced by YouTube, and so what that showed me was YouTube is a lot more lenient on like the subject matter, and even is willing to produce like an episode where they send someone out to take it.
I think they know that their golden goose is in creating and new contents, new storylines, new.
Right, but even him, he wasn't able to talk to it about anyone, and that was like kind of the sad thing about it. It's like,
Oh, the
Oh.
researcher.
no, Michael, the guy
Oh.
who the guy in the show. Yeah, he wasn't able to talk to the researcher because the researcher refused to talk
they
to him
were
about it.
still limited because of weird external.
But that's what I'm saying. It's like YouTube is allowing a space for these conversations to happen. It's just up to now people to have the conversations.
Yes, to utilize that space while they can.
Right, like Joe Rogan talks about it all the time. Like, and you know, they don't like take it down like his content for that. You know, it's like they're fine with it. It's like,
They
in fact,
can't.
like
Can they take down
no, but I don't
have they
think
taken down?
I
Oh.
think they're not really concerned about that, to be honest. I think they're more concerned about like explicit material or like graphic material.
Mhm.
But in terms of like, I don't know, like showing just like conversation like on a substance, it's like drunk history, basically.
Mhm.
You know, like they show that.
What's
Drunk history is okay, since you don't know.
I remember, I don't know.
Okay, well
I'm
let me explain it. It's really quick.
My only experience, I'm not a YouTuber, so the only times I get slapped in social media is like with, you know, Instagram, or before I even joined Facebook with those regulations. I'm like, I don't want to join this, but like I get like there's so many disclaimers I have to put if I'm gonna before, maybe it's different now, but posting pictures, certain times of posting pictures of weed or doing, or even, you know.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's like when you're doing something explicit like that, I think they care more. And that's Facebook, by the way. And so that's I think Google is, I don't know what
Yes,
Google's
but
priorities are in
that's
terms
the
of
thing.
like
If they're not
content.
focused on it, then they just copy and paste those same algorithms.
No, I don't
So-
think Google copies and pastes Facebook's algorithms.
No. But I mean, when they come to like, okay, how are we gonna like, if we're gonna expand in this way, how are we gonna?
You know, that's
make
what I'm
those
saying.
parameters.
I
You
think
think they
Google, I
take
think
care?
I think YouTube's strategy is different than Facebook's, and I think they're allowing, and I think that's why they're producing content like Michael from Vsauce going and taking
Yes.
ayahuasca, and like they
Well,
want
for sure. I mean,
they
I
want
understand.
more-
I want to see what it like. As skeptical as I was about YouTube, the only reason why I was like, "Oh yeah, we should make a channel," is because everyone I knew used it.
Yeah, because it's free. You have to
I
pay
was
for
the only one
Hulu.
that was
You
like,
have to
"What
pay
is
for
this?"
Netflix. You have to pay for Amazon Prime.
I know, but I didn't
YouTube is the only
understand.
thing
All
that's
I
free.
saw was that everybody was using, including my kids. And I'm
I know,
like,
but when you
how
think
did they
about-
figure out how to even like?
The barrier of entry to enter YouTube in terms of content creating and the barrier of entry to watch it's the same. It's zero. And that's why
Yeah, that's what I
it's-
realized, and I got really confused when I was like, okay, I'm gonna. What does it mean to be a subscriber?
Mhm.
And trying to subscribe to this, like
Yeah.
those are like such weird new experiences that people
Yeah,
don't
'cause
even.
you don't really
there's no
subscribe
like
to stuff.
manual for
Yeah.
that, which is maybe why I feel alien all the time. I'm like, what is going on? How do you? They're like, what do you not know about not subscribe and hit the?
Your kids are telling you.
Yeah, I'm like, what? And they're
It
like,
is a unique. YouTube is unique. It's
how
not
come
like
you don't know? Where's your merch? Oh, look, that's. I'm like, what are you even talking about? I'm like, I'm trying to teach you how to phonetically sound out Titanfall, and you're already watching videos on how to get the, you know, Viper, whatever. I don't get it. But anyways,
yeah. So
nothing will make you question your reality more than having children.
yeah. Hey, Michael from Vsauce, if you want to take gel tabs with us, he's in LA.
Or trying to create a YouTube channel, I guess.
We're in
Maybe?
LA
I
too.
feel like that's the same thing.
We should. Michael from if any of you guys know Michael from Vsauce, go let him know. We got orange gel tabs. very strong.
I really liked. Okay, I don't know which show it is, but I watched so many of them, and you were trying to get like the one where he's on in LA, but his living room and stuff is so weird, and it's
Yeah.
like all open space. So I'm
Yeah,
like, is
it's
he on
like-
a rooftop that's
Uh-huh.
enclosed like a greenhouse? Which show is that? Is that
Minefield. I mean,
Minefield?
that's
Oh.
That's This is the same guy, Michael. I think
So
that's
I'm
his
like,
place.
one day I'll live in a place like that when I don't have kids that are always trying to break free of invisible
Demons.
walls. I'm like, what are you screaming and running from?
I know. I always.
Let's go.
I know. I always tell them at 26 you can do what I did and you can try weed.
They don't want to.
That's so. I know. Yeah, it's not.
See, okay. So I'll show people what you got me for my. It was just a beautiful birthday. A treat for someone who's not allowed to eat a lot of sugar, but and likes efficiency.
Oh yeah, edibles. They're great.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So my kids see, and people are like worried because they're like, oh, what if your kids,
Oh, they say weed tarts on it though. But yeah, your kids ask you for every candy.
if you educate them from when they're young and they smell weed,
Because they don't want to eat
I
the
don't.
weed stuff.
They don't want to take medicine.
Yeah.
Naturally, they don't want to take anything that's like you have a hard time introducing edible foods to them. So, and my kid,
I think people are just
Gustin-
worried about the packaging. But
Yes, and I'm like, whatever, dude. And my kid took a bite out of a Cascade thing.
What's that?
Dishwash detergent.
Ew.
Remember the Tide Pods?
Oh my
That was an
gosh.
actual you
Yeah.
have to worry.
Yeah. So
That-
he bit
That's
something
toxic.
dangerous.
Yes,
Yeah,
I had to
toxic.
call
Right.
poison control.
Yeah.
If my kids accidentally got into this and ate the whole thing, every doctor would tell me, don't waste your money taking them to the ER. Just put them to bed, make sure they're they're just gonna probably fall asleep. But my kids, seeing how we are and how stinky it is, they're just like, is this medicine? Ugh. And they love candy. They love candy.
I know.
Now they drink Tylenol and stuff. I have to hide their children's medicine from them because they can OD on them because now they like that sugar flavor.
The children's medicine?
Yes, that cherry, that they got it so it's not yucky anymore to them.
Oh yeah, children's medicine.
I'm
used to
like,
taste
no,
awful.
you cannot down this bottle of Tylenol. Your liver's got to last you 80 years.
Well,
But anyways, yeah. So people who are like, oh, that looks like candy, and aren't you scared of I'm like, my kids aren't gonna eat these. These are just for me.
wow. So it's.
But if you need them, contact us. In California.
Yeah. Speaking of California, where we're at is kind of cold. It's 30 degrees right now. That's why I have this weird head thing on.
Oh, that's another thing. I always try to if I'm gonna go trip out and if we go camping to make sure, because I have a hard time thermoregulating.
Oh my god, me too.
Thermoregulating.
This is actually why I wear this brand. Because I never have to worry about thermoregulating.
Yes, because people who like to trip out on this, you still have to understand, you can't be walking around and taking a hike in
Yes.
negative, whatever weather. You're not a monk. You haven't practiced this stuff and you're going to die. And then that's when people are like, they went on a
especially
bad
if you're
shroom
If
trip.
you're out at a place where you're camping for the first time, you just don't know the weather. The
Yeah.
weather's uncertain all the time. So if you travel to a new place, it's going to be even more uncertain.
I know, but some people, I feel like that there's that whole negative stigma, or where they're like, oh, I know people who went on a bad trip and or someone who died from it. And it's very anecdotal, but it's oh, they would have died if they'd done that.
Yeah. Okay, so
I guess that's what they say. They went crazy. They didn't
I like this brand before I tried LSD, but that Marie Kondo phrase, you gotta throw away things that don't spark you joy. I think
the organizer guy,
Organizer lady,
helps with horrors.
the art of tidying up or something.
Mhm.
I feel after LSD I was able to now I think you were able to approach that kind of same philosophy from the purchasing side, where you could only purchase things that like spark you joy. Like I
Yes.
found it really hard to like just spend money in general.
If
I
it
mean,
can't be a part of the economy you're creating.
right. And so this brand after I found so
Oh, I
I'm
know.
almost
So when people
embarrassed
say
by how I layer
pretentious,
this because
they're like, "Wow, it's so expensive." I'm
well,
like,
it's
"Oh, but
funny.
it works for him, and he doesn't have to spend so much money on all the clothes." Because you guys literally don't understand. He saves money because he
No,
goes
no,
on
no, no,
the
no.
like 25%,
No, there are
you know,
people.
and
There are people that think I only wear cheap clothes, and that's true because the leggings I'm wearing, these
oh,
were $10 at a
but you
H&M.
only wear Artrex and your Birkenstocks
Oh, but these were a
and
gift.
your Apple stuff.
My Birkenstocks were a gift. No, but the
Oh,
things
I guess I don't
the
recognize. I don't.
no, that's true. The things I do choose to spend money on are probably Arc'teryx and Apple stuff. But the Arc'teryx is just because I don't ever have to worry about one, what I'm wearing, and two, that I'm ever
If
going
you're
to be
hot or
cold.
cold.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're hot or cold.
It's like the most. I didn't want to like the hoodie that I'm wearing. I found at an outlet store in Livermore.
And that's considered the green,
This is considered the green. Yeah, it's like a dark
which I
green.
was like, I don't see green.
Which is funny
in it.
because I actually found this hoodie before the COVID started, and then I bought like 3 of them, and then COVID started, and it happens to have like a mask built in.
And then if you put a mask over it, it's
So this is
awesome.
it's become the only thing I wear, and now I don't ever have. Now that I've never I've haven't had to really think about what I had to wear in the last year. I realize how much time.
Not from the waist down.
No, I realize literally how much time it frees up.
Uh-huh.
Like I don't ever have to think about what I'm going to wear.
I was so happy when I went to Cuba and everything. You're in
like in a uniform. Yeah, I didn't have that since junior high. In junior high, I had a
And
uniform.
I was like, all you have to do is make sure the clothes you're wearing is clean. That's like so simple for me. Is it clean? Is it not?
I know. I feel like LSD turned me into a cartoon character, where it's like you look at their closet and all of the outfits are the same. That's like I'm Doug Funny.
When I first was in Cuba and Oma and Appa were freaking out and like, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen to our
Yeah, how old were you when you went to Cuba?
22, 23.
So imagine
I
if
had just graduated UCSD. Girl born and raised Orange County.
yeah. So imagine if I guess Adriana went to Mars.
I did LSD. I've already imagined that.
Yeah, that's crazy. There's no. I don't know if there's an equivalent to imagining Adriana. Like, where could she move to, which would be as crazy to Cuba for your parents?
I feel
that place
bad
doesn't
because
exist.
they were like, I felt
Oh,
like the
it
only
doesn't exist
directive
yet.
after high school that they could give me was like stay out of jail. And I was like, I decided to go move to Cuba. And then the business I decided to really start in and like dig my heels in was like weed and psychedelics. And like,
Well, I
and
mean,
integrating the technology that would help build what we
Koreans
did, which is like,
are
what are you even trying to do? What's wrong with
but I think Koreans are naturally very economic in like their thinking, almost to like a fault.
Yes.
Like, and I think that's why they do so well at like gaming, like real time gaming. Like they're like unmatched at because they're so. I think they're so all about efficiency. I don't know. There's something about Koreans that is really about like economics and efficiency.
it's too much.
It is, but I think it's like innate.
That's why the Germans like the Japanese.
No. But
there's
when it
that
comes to like
part of
starting,
thinking that goes too far.
yes, but it's innate, and it's like it's hard to go against that kind of economic thinking. So when you
Yes,
start a
when it's
business,
innate.
it's because I think it's because you see something undervalued. It doesn't make sense to start a business with things that are overvalued because as soon as you invest money into it and the market gets corrected, then you're going to lose money. Things that are undervalued can only raise in value. I mean, depending on how the market turns out. But yeah, psychedelics and like cannabis are such new industries that it just seems like, I mean, we're seeing a lot of possibilities like in both emerging industries, but then even like the conversations around the topics still haven't gone beyond like Pineapple Express.
No, that's what I'm saying. There are, but they're at a level right now that none of the people who can benefit from it are benefiting from it.
Like the guy,
Like,
like
it's
the
all
most
just
stoner
like
culture has
upper level.
gone is like Elon Musk puffing a little like a joint with Joe
And
Rogan.
he even got so much crap for that. And I find it so funny because he juxtaposed his drinking right there in the
Yeah.
same shot.
Yeah, no, he knows what it
I
is.
know, and now and he's like, but
Elon
it
Musk
is
has
what
done
it is.
everything.
Yeah, he knows what it is when he's gonna break the rules and how he's gonna break the rules. But you only have so much force to where you're gonna.
Well, he knows when he's being recorded, and I think, but
no,
he's
and
fine
to be
with it.
impactful because some people talk crap about how and where he's impacting, but it's like.
Yeah, Elon Musk. Do you want to do gel tabs with us? You're
He's
he's in LA.
Okay, first of all, he's gone to Burning Man and he's done stuff. I'm like, how is he not? Maybe he hasn't. Because when he puffed that, it looked like he wasn't. I'm like,
yeah, maybe he doesn't.
Dude, have you smoked anything?
He's not
before?
cool. Okay, give him a break.
Think he only
he's just a big nerd.
drinks and maybe eats stuff. No, so a lot of my friends. This is when I was like,
no, he smoked it like a cigar.
Innate.
Like
Cigars,
where he puffs
you do
it
not inhale.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. He smoked it like a cigar. I think he smokes cigars.
But that's nicotine. Like you have to hold it in your mouth.
Yeah. That's how he looked like he smoked it. Like it didn't look like he inhaled.
That's been aerosol can actually pass through mucous membranes and they get you. There are nicotinic receptor. Anyways, oh my gosh. Too much. Yeah. I was so mad when I'm like, wow, that whole ECS, endocannabinoid system. And for me, I get it. I was educated in medicine 20 years ago. So it's outdated. But the fact that even in what we were taught in pharmacy, like why was my pharmacy training so skewed by the DEA's definition on these substances that were like not
because they're
scientifically based?
They're the ones who give the pharmacy licenses. Isn't that right? Who gives what's the board that controls isn't that not the DEA? I don't know. No.
Drug Enforcement Agency came above. It's like, where did ICE come from? Why are these things popping up? And do we need them? Are they just being like, this is what we need and spend money at it? And then they go like attack things that are just like false enemies.
I mean, yeah, that's what.
What a horrible way to live. Everyone's out to get you.
I mean, it seems like every country does that, though.
Well, I mean, there's...
Like, it seems like that's how everybody lives. Do you know what I mean?
No, I mean, obviously, you've got to have your boundaries of, like, when someone's impinging on your, you to be self... Like, but... I feel like our military has taken it to a whole another level. And our the way we think and build our businesses and corporations.
You can thank Dick Cheney for that.
Who's that? Oh, you told me.
If you guys haven't seen the
9/11. All I felt was like something happened in 2000. I'm like, I'm gonna go to Cuba.
Yeah, if you guys haven't seen the movie Vice, great movie. It's about, I don't know, I guess how Dick Cheney did 9/11 and made a bunch of money off of it. Don't quote me. Just watch the movie.
Politicians make a lot of money. U.S. politics.
No, but
they make a lot of money.
Had a defense company, Halliburton, that got like that got a bunch of like no bid contracts.
I mean, okay, how about
insane.
studying the people in right now, like what they found about Loeffler?
No, but that's fine. It's just Dick Cheney got us into 20 years of war.
Oh, I know. It's like
he's the reason why the military-industrial complex is getting the money that it's getting now is because of Dick Cheney.
And which is why we're like, okay, so how do we get these military contracts? I'm like, wait, is that just perpetuating?
No. How do we get these military contracts? That's right. We want to get no. Seriously, if you guys know any government contracting, we'll do the software. Figure it out. I don't.
What? They're the ones ask. Oh yeah.
I know. So how do we do it? Should we make guns?
No.
What's the easiest contract to get from the military?
Non-weaponry. No, and
Okay,
they want
non-weaponry?
software stuff.
Yeah, we
Right
can make
now, it's
iPhones
software, and we're small business admin.
in the U.S.
I don't know. I don't know if the buyers have changed much. They're always changing. DCMA become DC. Whenever they get sued, it's like, oh shit, another name. It was like same person.
Yeah, let's get some defense contracts. Let's be war dogs. That's what that Jonah Hill movie was about.
And then get out of here.
No, and then we can build something better. A USA #2. Just kidding.
Oh no.
Just like Alexander Hamilton always wanted.
How about just let it lay down and sleep?
Just kidding. No, seriously.
We can call it a death.
Let's get some U.S. military contracts. There's like spending like $750 billion a year.
I know that wheel's turning no matter what. Might
Money
as well
flying
get some
everywhere.
water.
Might as well stand in the way of it. Hit me. Ugh. Yes.
Oh, I always like.
I know. Is interlock still working?
Do people understand if they were really looking for where Jesus would be right now? Their question would be like, "Where's the closest strip club?"
Yeah. No. How far are you away? How far are you away from Skid Row?
Yeah.
Which is also where the strip
closest
clubs are.
prison? Where's the yeah? Where is humanity?
Killer
at
Mike
its realist.
has a quote in his, or has a lyric in his is it called gospel music? There's a quote where it's like, if Jesus were
And he's not even a
here,
Christian. He's very like, what's it when he doesn't? He just
yeah, he says if Jesus
recognizes
was like here today, like where do you think he'd be? Probably in the streets with me. And that's the real
I honestly
acute
feel like
observation of where Jesus would be. He would be on the streets. Like where
Everywhere.
is the majority of people? They're on the streets, unfortunately.
I was like, if I would have to sell the story and try to put what would Jesus do now, it's like he would be so offensive that the Pope would be trying to get him on death row using US laws. Because the Pope can't put nobody to death.
Who's
and that's
that?
what the high priest did
Who's
to
that
Jesus.
offensive? Ghislaine
to
Maxwell.
go. No,
Jeffrey
Jesus.
Epstein.
Oh no.
Oh my God. They crucified him. You're right. What do we do?
He just exposed certain weak spots.
Bernie Sanders.
He's a better. Like, why don't we strive towards?
I know. Yeah, he's the only politician that makes me actually.
Like, come out and want to vote.
Yeah, no, it gives me hope that it's like, oh, there are actually politicians that care, and it's like they're not all just in it for their own like self-interest.
I know.
Or
like,
they're not all
once
sellouts.
Biden went, I'm we're just back to sucking regular old white dick.
I know. The unfortunate thing is he's so old. I mean, Bernie Sanders,
Oh.
like, hopefully,
But
like,
you know what?
I mean,
That's
but we
what
have great
makes
people
gives
like
him the
AOC.
understanding that is needed to be passed on. Like that baton needs to be passed on. That knowledge of like why his generation thinks the way they do.
I mean,
and where
and
they
also,
because that understanding is needed to try to like
I think
break down and restructure something without causing total
and the
war
way
or
he
chaos.
has approached public service his entire life is so admirable. Like
Mhm.
in every instance
It
in the
has
public eye,
stood the test of time.
yeah, it's incredible. It's like what other politician could you ever say, you know, has like such a
Through his
squeaky
growth,
clean
yeah, it
record
was like
that?
wow, you could see a good character shining through.
Right,
I
and
think.
now he's like
Who
How
knows?
old
He's
is
not
he?
dead yet.
87, 89, and he's still. I think he is like literally the prime example of like how what a
If we-
public servant is.
Yes,
Someone
a
who's
last
elected and
example of a
serves.
public servant. Maybe.
Well, a really good example, if you know, it's
Well,
like.
there's. What about AOC? What
No,
about
I
the
know.
newer people?
That's what I'm saying. It's
I'm
like those
I like her
people
face.
now have.
It's like not just because she's a pretty face, but just because of what she represents and how she came about.
Right, and
where she came from.
Bernie Sanders has fortunately set like a precedence for like these people to
Mhm.
now follow. It's like, oh, this is what it means to be right and like to do the hard thing and to like approach like public service and like have the longevity.
And
It's
still stand for the people you feel you're representing, even if their voice is so small that you can barely hear it.
Yeah, and that's it's like it's incredible what he's done for Vermont, like that state, and like as a mayor
Georgia,
and as a
January
senator.
5th. Can we get McConnell? Is that gonna...
Well, it's we have to win. That would then remove him as Senate Majority Leader because the Senate wouldn't be in the Republican majority.
Would they be able to pass that bill Kamala and them wrote? Because now she's vice president. May 8th,
Yeah, I
2020.
mean, yeah.
2,000 per, and it's not just a one time. Go read the bill, y'all. Go read these bills. Everyone knows how to read, right? I don't know. They made those things so stupid complex. It's like, no wonder people don't want to read this.
I had a yeah. That's crazy. Oh, okay. Wow, it's been 5.5 hours.
Oh
since
yeah!
I
Wow, we started. This recording's been 2 hours. I'm interested in seeing. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I think we just recorded when we got back, and then
I
just
guess
kept
it's
it going.
kind of like a. I have a hard time going back on my journals, unless I'm trying to find something. But then that's just a whole big mess.
Oh yeah, I've had the same journal I've had for the last 5 years. It's crazy. I'm so. I bought another one of it. I would recommend it. It's a Shinola Detroit. Where is it?
If I write,
And I know because I date every entry, so my first date was 3/15, March 2015, and so it's 2020 now.
How to not fill it too much? Because my problem is
No, it's
I
almost
have
done.
so many books.
Yeah, it's all. Well,
No, but that took 5 years.
yeah.
I'm telling
why it took
you,
so-
in a month, people will give me those journals as birthday gifts a lot of times. And like, oh,
Well, this
thank
one
you.
doesn't have lines.
I've been given those too.
I
I've
feel
been
like the
given graph
ones.
I've
I
been
feel like the
given,
ones
box
without
ones.
lines, I take a lot longer to fill out. The ones with lines.
You're more free to draw and stuff.
Well, I can write smaller too.
Oh.
I think no, actually yeah. If you looked at my, I do draw a lot.
I'm a very.
I have to sketch it out. Even though I'm not good at sketching, I'm terrible at drawing.
It doesn't
But-
matter but you understand your own scratch.
No, I'm trying to encourage other people to just like
Oh.
sketch it out. Even if you're bad at drawing, like
Yes, you only
I
get
wish-
better at
No, it
better
doesn't-
at it by practicing.
Well, yeah, that's true too. Hold on, I guess I'll show people.
Oh, jeez. So my problem is I'm so anal, but I learned I can draw when I have to draw things like,
Well,
like lifestyle stuff.
the embarrassing thing is,
And where I would make things and people are like, it has to be so close to realistic.
I've
that
taken
you can't
drawing
tell.
classes my entire life, like
Oh.
ever since I can remember. Yeah, and I'm just not good at it. This is a Shinola Detroit. I've had this since.
You've had horrible writing. I was like, how is it that Joseph doesn't his writing doesn't change?
Am I- Wait, oh shoot, it's so hard to see. Dang it. Okay,
I'm
well it
like-
says 315.
Depending on my journal you pick up, you would think my writing is so
My writing
different.
is so small. Oh, my writing. Oh,
Your writing is the same.
Yeah.
You see your writing and you're like, that's what you call signature writing. Like that.
I only have one form of writing. You have what they call psychopathic writing. Like, what? Who in the world wrote this? Do you write with your left hand sometimes?
I'm not answering that.
Wow, it's so cool seeing back. Anyways, yeah, I would recommend. Yeah, because it doesn't have lines, so I can write a lot smaller. But then I do feel like I do waste a lot of space.
If you saw my journals without lines.
But you know what I do? I go back.
You say you don't have lines. You very obviously followed lines.
No, when I'm
When
writing
my
stuff.
journals don't have lines, they don't have lines. Like none of the writing follows any kind of fucking lines. Yours, like you still see lines.
Oh. Well, no, I know, but I feel like I can.
Did
I
you
can
guys see
fit-
this?
I
He
can-
said he doesn't.
No. But I feel like I can fit more.
There's no lines, and
No,
I
no,
was
no,
like,
no, no.
but he made the lines.
No. The point was, I feel like when a page is already lined, you can only write on the lines. But then when you don't have the lines, you can write as small as you want. And so I feel like I can fit
You've
more
never
on a
had
page.
to do a cheat sheet.
No, I
on
have.
One note card.
Are you kidding me?
like,
I'm the best at that. But I also
Yeah, that's
I
on
also
an index card.
Look how small my writing is. It doesn't have to be this small.
I know.
I don't even know why my writing is this small.
But
to be
I found
honest.
it funny because
Why is my
the way
writing so
you fill
small?
out, and this is like why it's good to have journals. The
I
way
know.
people fill out their journals is so weird. It's
It is so weird.
funny, like
Because it's consistent. And that's what's
Oh,
interesting
not
is like the
mine.
consistency. No, but even the
Oh,
inconsistencies would
as
be
consistent
consistent.
as
Yeah.
me as
No, but it's like you don't realize it until you have a big enough writing sample. And I feel like having it all in one place, especially in the last 5 years. So I have like, it's almost done. I have like this much left. That's why I bought another one. But anyways,
yeah. There's people who can recognize my writing,
Shinola Detroit is a brand I would recommend.
and they're like, "That's her writing," and then but someone else will be like, "No, this is her writing. This."
Oh, I only have one type of writing. I wish it was better. Well,
But then that's what makes me
Then-
feel like, oh, am I like putting weird shows for certain like?
no, I mean, some people just enjoy writing. I enjoy writing. Like I that's why I say I wish I could write better or wish I could write different. It's just I grew up in a time where typing became the dominant thing, and so we didn't like all of my papers were typed, and starting from high school on. My middle
Your
all of my middle
term
school
of pen and paper was it changed.
Yeah, no, literally my everything in middle school. Well,
For us, it was still quite literally pen and paper, and
Yeah.
I think my generation was the last to have that.
yeah, the millennial generation is definitely was the one who was on the computers and like submitting all of their papers.
Type and digital, yeah.
Yeah, so we didn't have to write
It's like,
as much.
Why don't you do these for more important things?
Yeah,
Like,
we-
why don't you just do it for like?
We were the
singers
last
or
generation
whatever?
to learn cursive. Like you don't have to learn cursive anymore.
Oh, my kids are out of school where they're like, "Hey, we'll teach them cursive." I'm like, "Well, what good? I guess because some of their, I'm surprised that
it is useful.
people can't.
You can't
read.
read No, I remember what
I
it was
know,
like,
I was like,
to not be able to read cursive.
You
And
can't read that. I didn't realize it's so just innate because I can write it. That's my natural writing form.
because it's faster. That's why cursive was taught. It's faster to write that way because all of the letters
I'm like,
connect.
when I journal,
Yeah.
it's cursive.
Cursive was meant to be written, and that's why it's like all of the letters look kind of funny. It's because they're
Well,
supposed
I feel
to
like the
go from
newer
one to another.
generation, that's their LMAO WTF. Like,
Yeah. I mean, that's how language
they do it in a different.
progresses. It's like
using
what's
the
most
technology,
convenient.
yes, and the ways of communication that like benefits the people that are using
All
that
right, I
communication.
was looking at this
tool.
bag. And she was trying to look at-
I know.
Did
I
you eat
opened
some?
it. No, because okay, I'm trying to do a mental calculation. I didn't take any more LSD. I did drink these 2 drinks, which only had
Well, it's your
2
birthday.
shots.
Happy,
yeah.
happy birthday.
I'm just not trying to overdo it because you know.
Well, it's your birthday at midnight, so
Oh.
this will let you pass out. Happy birthday, Yarny.
I know. The only concern was the alcohol and the sugar because we have history for, diabetes. You
Wow.
should be careful too. It's good you cut back on sugar.
No, I
Because the
know.
problem with us is we look healthy. I'm like, just because I look skinny and stuff, because everyone's like, oh, you can eat whatever you want. I'm like,
I know, but you know when you don't feel
no,
healthy.
yeah. I'm like, I feel like
I'm like,
crap.
why am I out of breath?
I don't know. I get shit for that too. Even my doctor. This is why. Not knocking on all doctors, but so many doctors, they're like, well, you're complaining about being at 20%, but your 20% is like at 80% what everybody else. I'm like, that doesn't
Just because the bar is so low doesn't mean I want to be here.
I don't feel like shit compared to how I normally feel.
Yeah. So I think everyone should adopt
And then some doctors are like, well, just keep eating the weed.
Everyone should adopt a form of the One Punch Man workout. It's
Oh,
he
I do
did-
squats
Yeah, he does 100 squats.
because
he
I
does
have
100
sciatic
push-ups.
issues.
Yeah, me too.
We're not supposed to be in this upright form. We haven't been in that upright form for a while. And to do all the stuff we do, we shouldn't be sitting for so long.
Yeah, this is why I prefer to lay down. Can I just lay down at work? Is that a thing? We're on a green screen anyways.
Laying down.
Yeah, let's just lay down on a...
We're going to create the Wallies. I mean...
yeah, a chair we never have to leave. I mean, yeah. It's like every parent's dream.
What?
To never have to move.
That's
Everything
every
handed to you.
exhausted parent's dream. Oh. Yeah. I wouldn't eat this as candy if I didn't know there was medicine.
You wouldn't eat as many of it. That's what you mean. You would still eat it. You would be like, I'll eat 2 or 3 pieces.
Yeah, but the cons of consuming that much sugar, it wouldn't outweigh the benefits of nothing if I didn't have weed.
These are so good too. That's what makes them dangerous.
Such typical stoners.
That's why I don't give them to kids. It's not because there's weed in it. It's just because they're sweet. I mean, it's both.
I was telling my friend because I had gestational diabetes. I had to remember. I was like, I felt like what a drug addict was because
Okay, you have
the
to explain to
insulin
people what gestational diabetes was.
Oh.
I don't know what it is.
Gestational diabetes means when you're pregnant, you're full-blown diabetic. You need insulin or I felt crazy.
So you weren't diabetic before you were pregnant,
Mm-mm.
but then gestational diabetes is when you're diabetic during your pregnancy.
Yes.
So you actually have to take insulin.
Hormone regulation.
Right.
It's your endocrinologist.
Wow, so the only time you've ever been diabetic is when you were pregnant.
That's called gestational diabetes.
Okay.
And it hit me hard. And they're like, usually, I had a good OBGYN who was Asian and who understood that just because I look healthy doesn't mean I had my blood sugars under control. And that was the first thing he checked, which is what you're supposed to check as an OBGYN when you... Anyways, he totally took it seriously when he saw that. And I had...
Gestational diabetes?
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
I had a nutritionist on me. I had to take insulin shots to my abdomen. And I wish you saw... And I had to hide it because you have to do it before you take a meal. Every time you take a meal, because that's when your glucose increases, and before you go, your body can shut down because it's not processing the sugar correctly. So that sugar will actually really kill you. And so the insulin helps to regulate that. And so you have to shoot yourself up in the abdomen with those same exact heroin
Needles.
Yeah, and I was like into my abdomen. I had 2 different types of insulin. So I was like full-blown type 2 diabetes. It was like, and for me, coming from a medical perspective, this is the bad diabetes where if you don't get it under control, you're going to lose an eye, you're going to amputate your foot, you're going to, these are people who end up they get gangrene. I don't know if you've seen pictures. And they're like, what? How does that happen in the US? And it's like uncontrolled diabetes. That's how you get that fat festering foot. And they're like, we have to amputate. So what happened? Diabetes, guys. So then that was the hardest diet, all that stuff with Adriana, sugars. And I'm like, I have to control our sugars because this is a horrible way to live. Constantly figuring out what your blood sugar levels are. It's like your gate, you're not like processing your fuel correctly. So you're constantly having to focus on your gauge and make sure it's in this really targeted range and then fix for the errors every time. What is this?
Yeah, there's a South Park episode on diabetes.
So I was like, I'm going to try my best to make sure Adriana doesn't develop this because they told me the statistics of me developing it after I had her, even though I had it fully under control. If I don't really take it, this could be my life within 5 years. This could be my reality. It wouldn't just be gestational diabetes.
Yeah.
this is what you could be. And I was like, oh my gosh. And the calorie counting, the sugars that like, and so people will be like, oh, why don't you just let her have that or what? I'm like, no, this
Yeah.
like, so I remember I felt the first time I did feel bad. I think she was 3 or almost 3. It was a piñata party.
Oh, uh-huh.
And she collected stuff because they were shiny.
Yeah.
And all the kids were collecting it because they wanted to eat it.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, should I give her one piece?
Oh. But
I gave her
she
one
knows
piece.
what it is now.
Oh, and she loves candy. I was
No,
like,
everyone loves candy. That's the thing. Candy is a drug.
I know. This is
if you
how
look if you look at the
know,
Mars
my
company,
mom. I always tell Oma, I'm like, don't you think that's crazy that you remember the Marines coming with candy? And
No,
you
literally,
were so staunchly on the south side because of what?
Yeah, those candy companies like Mars Company, like they're shady. Like they're like cartels in terms of like how they do their businesses. And so sugar is very serious. It's such a serious business. It's like the legalized drug with like I don't know, like actually publicly run drug cartels.
Like, it's just
no, but even
capitalism
like,
to
the way they like keep their recipe secret, and it's like their it's like their secret.
It's like, but what recipe?
Like,
you're just like
it's their secret addictive recipe to like keep kids addicted to their products, And that's the thing. It's like,
but the recipe is that you're just fooling people.
We're somehow okay
being fooled,
selling kids a bunch of sugar. That's what it is. Like we sold sugar to kids
because it's a natural drive. It is fuel for our body.
Yeah.
And the survival thing and the instinct that's why it tastes good. Like those are evolutionary like advantages.
No, I get it. Yeah,
it's
a natural thing to ingest like throughout your life. Yeah.
But just once it becomes overly accessible,
yeah,
it's like now you've got to use your mind to be like, where are you gonna stop?
Mm-hmm. That's why I just resorted.
Got the next one, guys.
Yeah, so this is why when I go to Jack in the Box, I don't order a soda. I just order more jalapeno poppers. You don't need the sugar, but you can always eat more cheese.
I need vitamin A from the base, not just the chunks. Let's see. They're not using Velveeta. I can see the ingredients on their cheese. No. I'm gonna start making my own.
Jalapeno poppers? It can't be that hard.
I know how to grow. I've grown jalapenos before. I don't know how to make cheese yet.
Oh, but it's easy. Cheese is just dehydrating milk. I mean, I say it's easy. I've never done it.
Dad.
I eat a lot of cheese.
Has a goat farm in Camagüey. Like he's from a goat farmer who makes cheese. He loved the cheese he would bring. I'd be like, ew, I'm not a cheese eater. So I was like, if they didn't get you with the sugar, they'll get you with the cheese.
Cheese helped me stop eating so many desserts. But I think most of the desserts I liked were like generally cheesy, like cheesecake or like creamy, like a milkshake. Wow, I love cheese.
Or cream.
Everything.
There are people
cheese
who
is just dehydrated cream. Like I like pizza. I can't eat a burger without cheese.
Their taste buds can appreciate the different fats.
Yeah.
And other people, they can't.
Oh.
And in the Korean term, it's like nukie. I don't know what it is in English, but that's the expression. I'm like, some people can't taste it because of that.
Interesting.
Nukie. I'm like, oh.
Well, now I want to eat something fatty. Well, you know what?
Are you calorie
so
deficient?
you can. I mean, yeah, in Japan, I was only there for like.
You went twice.
Oh, I did go twice. And so, but then I think even after the first time,
my whole family keeps going to Japan.
I couldn't eat ramen for like years because we ate it all the time.
Oh, I don't like real ramen.
I couldn't even eat I couldn't eat any of it. I couldn't even eat the noodles. I just couldn't eat those kind of noodles because we ate it every day.
No more noodles.
But also in Japan, you get to choose. It was so weird. You get to choose how greasy you want it.
Mhm.
Where even in the American shinsengumi, I don't think you get to choose the
No, but
greasiness.
in the
But
where did we go? I think it's in Costa Mesa, and that's when a
Mitsuwa,
Japanese person showed
yeah,
me how I can get it so it's less greasy. Because I was like, I would want to try it if it wasn't so
yeah,
fatty. And she's like, oh, just order it and she
yeah,
ordered it for me, and I was like,
yeah. You can
I
order
don't
it.
know those Japanese terms.
You can order it without grease and without fat. But then just the option that they allow for so much made me realize, like, oh wow, there's an appetite for
When you see the way they cook and stuff, it's
amazing.
very precise in the parts they use and the fat content almost.
Yeah, I think it
It's
took me like 3 years legitimately to like eat ramen again.
oh.
Oh man, but it's good in Japan. I mean, everything is good in Japan. That's why I would go back, and I think that's why people keep going back. Like
I've never
PewDiePie
been. That's
loves.
the one place I was like, my whole family's been. I've never been there. That's weird.
Yeah, the two places I've gone to that I've loved, I went back to twice, which is Peru and Japan.
Oh, the place I go to, everyone's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Come on, everyone's coming." Oh, you're not invited to my wedding.
No, I seriously feel like Peru would be like a second home. I guess like yeah, if people say
I want to
back
go to
where
Peru.
you came, it's so fun.
You took pictures
Hmm.
that I was like, you like you can still see that?
Oh, Machu Picchu.
Yeah. I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah, it's all
wow,
there.
you captured it.
Yeah,
I thought that was like, oh, I
Oh
don't
my
know.
God, what happened to my photos? I don't even know where any of my photos are anymore. Everything's on hard drives.
Yes, it's like, you didn't lose any Bitcoin in those hard drives?
No, I didn't have any Bitcoin to begin with, so
But those,
I didn't have any Bitcoin to lose.
yeah, you had pictures. They take up so much space. I'm like,
Hmm.
they can easily be lost
Yeah,
because now we have the technology and everything's gone so small. We can make and store that much data so much easier. So it's that much easier
I
to
know.
lose.
Yeah, pretty. I mean, if Instagram went down and if you didn't have a copy of that saved, it would just be gone.
I know.
And
That's
that's why,
why.
and not, and everyone
Plus,
relies on it.
plus the way my phone captures it outside of any app is way better than.
I do like how everything is just on the iPhone now, and so at least there's a hard copy on the iPhone.
Oh, is there?
I don't know. I mean, yeah,
I feel bad. I've been in the economy for there's so many pictures and there's so many. I'm just like, oh,
I know, and they made it so easy to transfer from one phone to the other. You don't even have to hook it up to the Mac anymore to back up a copy and then to restore it on the other one.
I don't even want it to copy because I feel like now there's duplicates and I don't want all these duplicates.
Well, that's why you need to get it on the one. That's why you do a factory reset on the phone that you're leaving behind.
Yeah.
So you don't have that duplicate. But yeah, no, I know what you mean. I have a duplicate on my iPad on my iPhone, and I don't know how that happened.
My perspective and the way I see and data keeps shifting.
Oh, I guess I can wear this one. You know, I
It
initially
makes me feel old.
This was supposed to be my filming one. I thought it would be too green for the green screen. It's actually not bad.
You've worn that before. Remember it got hot though?
No,
during the summer when we were doing it
no,
in the garage
against
in
the
the
other
summer.
green, it wasn't.
Oh.
It didn't do as well. So I had to go to I used my black one. I know it gets so hot in California and so cold. What the hell?
Oh, everyone's like, you guys
Desert.
are spoiled. Like, what's exactly too cold? Like,
Too cold right now.
temperature wise.
What is it? 45? It's a cold 45. Okay, you guys don't understand. Just kidding. I know.
And we get a sweltering 100.
No,
degrees.
this is the outer layer I have is considered a mid layer. Do you know what I mean? And so there is a layer that goes on top of this.
I'm just saying we're weak sauce.
Colder layers. Yeah, I don't even wear that outer
But
layer.
I'm glad there's people who come and help us weak sauce people survive.
I know.
The elements.
The Canadians, man. They're the
the
ones who
Canucks.
know the cold. This brand is Canadian. Very comfortable. Oh my god.
They say we're not as nice as you think. Get out.
You know,
You're not
so-
an influx of too many idiot Americans from the South.
I had did I tell you I was talking with Audi. Audi's a friend that I have in LA that I also work with. He's great. and it was showing him this, the ash catcher. And I was like, yeah, I finally feel comfortable like wearing expensive shirts. Like,
Yeah, and you're not
and
gonna
he
burn a
was
hole through them.
right. And he's like, when do you ever wear expensive clothes? And I'm like, that's true. Unless you know this brand, it looks like I don't really wear anything because I don't wear anything else that's a name brand.
Oh.
Like I don't have Supreme. I don't have I don't know, whatever the street things are. This is such a weird. I thought people would recognize this like weird bird, but it's
I
actually so
guess
subtle that people don't.
I'm not a brand person, so but
I don't think
you
people are
no,
usually.
but
Mhm.
when you or my friend or when I have a brand in my head, it's because someone is like willing to invest
Oh, money into
they
it.
they actually like that product, and that's why I was like, oh, that's how
Yeah.
I learned about Arc'teryx, and I was like, oh, if I get a jacket, I'll get an Arc'teryx jacket. And people were like, why so expensive? I'm like, oh, it's expensive? I don't know. Like, it was very functional, and it was very like,
Oh yeah,
and
this is
then
why I bought all this from the outlet store because they were like
yeah,
on
and then I
sale.
realized, oh, this is why he waits until it's clearance because it's
Yeah.
like the clearance is like, whoa, you're gonna put that much on an undershirt, but then if you're wearing that undershirt all the time and it actually does a good job thermoregulating and
Oh my
like
god,
doing all
yeah.
the stuff that it needs to do, it's not just like a sales tactic. Then it's like, wow,
Yeah, so I think you find a lot of people
I'll invest.
that like the Arc'teryx brand because
Yeah, don't
it's
burn
so
holes through it.
comfortable. I know. Damn it. I have to send back my jacket. It's called the Atom LT. I used to wear that jacket all the time, but then because of a dab rig, I burned a few holes in it. It was so
You got
sad.
sold me on that. Someone else got sold because when I started to feel the cold more, I'm like, I want good like
Insulation.
outerwear.
Yeah, it was the lightest jacket I had that would keep me the warmest. And that's why
But
every other jacket was too heavy and it wouldn't keep you as warm.
but another one I like was Patagonia.
Yeah, so
I would have
Patagonia.
done
Mhm.
like
I
I
think
was gonna get a Patagonia jacket before.
I think any
Arc'teryx,
climbing
if
brand.
couldn't
I
get-
think Patagonia is a climbing brand. So is Arc'teryx. I think
Well,
they
so I have a lot of
understand.
the North Face stuff just because
Yes,
Appa likes
I think North
REI.
Face as well.
And,
No,
oh.
but I think climbing brands do it the best because they understand insulation as well as breathability. And so you'll be warm and not hot. And like I think that's
Oh.
why
I guess I
because you're supposed to
veer
exercise in like the
around.
climbing brands
And
s-
we actually
and
do.
you're supposed to be in high
But
altitude
you said
and
that's
keep warm.
Yeah, but how do you know which brands are actually
No, that's what I'm saying.
made to do that?
The brands that are actually for climbers, so like Patagonia.
I know
and-
because like there are things. Oh,
So like
yeah,
Timbuktu
Patagonia-
isn't really for it's more like it's an outdoor brand, but it's
like
not
you
for
wouldn't
climbers.
go for Nike
Yeah, that's not
because
necessarily
they just try to.
that's more of an athletics brand.
Mhm.
Right, but if you want something I feel like for I guess like in terms
Yeah, but
of,
I don't want to climb. I just want something where I'm like not feeling so cold.
No, that's the thing. I found that the
And it's
best
like-
thing to regulate your like the lightest jacket I had that would keep me the warmest, but also wouldn't make me too hot when it would get warm would be the climbing brands like the North Face, Arc'teryx, or
Yes.
Patagonia. And so that's why
Yes.
it's like
the one
those.
thing that freaks me out is when I start overheating
Mhm.
because
Well, you just don't want to take it off, and so if you can just unzip and then be fine,
Oh, no,
or
I'm-
even not get hot.
my body's prone to heat stroke.
Oh, I see.
And when I get heat stroke, it's really bad.
Mm.
So every summer as a child, like it wasn't that no Chansa wouldn't get it. Not like this is why my mom was like, you can't go out until after it's because
Yeah.
I would every summer heat stroke. It'd be
Yeah.
bad. Like I overheat really fast. So I panic when my body temperature kind of rises.
Yeah.
But so I overcorrect and I end up being really cold. And people are like, you look cold. I'm like, no, I'm fine. But it's like, oh shit, I can't feel my fingers. I'm not working.
Yeah. The Arc'teryx stuff I have never felt too hot in.
But I would not want to burn a hole through it. That's how I'm
Yeah,
like,
so-
it's not an I want it to be an everyday thing.
That's what these
but
are for.
Then, yeah.
These ash
These people
catchers,
say-
amazing. You can
Oh.
wear expensive clothes around them.
You can go to a wedding, go outside.
You can look
light
like a
joint.
dignified, like Gandalf.
I'm not a stoner.
I'm Gandalf the Grey.
I'm just.
I'm a well-known homosexual advocate.
Now you're sounding like an Asian Seth Rogen.
It's exactly what I'm trying to be. Light my pipe, little one.
Light my what?
I don't know what it says. Light my ganja in This is the end. When he has that big Gandalf pipe.
Oh, remember
God,
I
that movie
saw
was so
that
funny.
pipe
Yeah,
and I wanted to get it.
I know. I wanted to get it
I'm
too,
like,
but it was like we would only
no.
use it once and never again.
Plus, I know. I'm like, no. And where would we put it? We need a place where.
That's the thing. It's like it doesn't sit well. It's like you have to smoke the entire bowl and like.
I understood before when they were wooden pipes.
Yeah.
Wooden
I think the
pipes,
glass
you
was just.
can't just like not. You can take with you. No, I mean in those times, a wooden
Mm-hmm.
pipe made sense.
Oh yeah.
But the fact that we're trying to do it with glassware, I mean, I guess now that the technology we have with Gorilla Glass and stuff, who knows? Taking smoking shit to a next level.
Well, this is still, I feel like, a very dignified way to smoke. People are asking about it in the comments. I'm surprised they even noticed because we don't even
people are
talk
like,
about
why do you
these.
smoke or whatever? I'm like, okay, I've tried all different because
Yeah, that's part of the pilot. See, pilot
except the
episode in Blazing Asians.
suppository thing. I still want to try it, but I have to make one. And then I don't know.
That's everything. That's everything this company has done. We've made everything we've tried, including
Yes!
the gel tabs. So.
I'm like, how am I going to be able to sell it if I can't tell it?
Well, yeah, exactly. Like, there's so many people in the weed industry that don't smoke weed. It like boggles my mind. I don't know why. I don't know why that surprises me so much.
But there are some that I'm like, they are pushing for the benefits of it, and I get that they're not consuming it, but I do believe that they are good allies in trying to like make spaces for vets or whatever, but like their limitations, like I have a firearm or have whatever, like you know,
okay, sure,
and it's like I get, but they're still on this side of the line when it comes to like prohibition or looking at these things as illegal, or don't you think?
yeah. No, I know. I'm not saying you don't have to consume cannabis to be a cannabis advocate. I'm just surprised at how many people in the cannabis industry don't smoke cannabis, especially when they're trying to sell a product. It's like,
well,
wait,
business
how do you-
opportunity. Once there's like a raw product that has no ancillary stuff, but it needs all those ancillary stuff, and you provide those kinds of ancillary things, of course everyone's gonna be jumping in like.
Yeah, so
and they don't know what it's about or where it comes from or how to even like.
I know we've met farmers that grow huge, like things of like just like hundreds and hundreds of pounds, and they haven't tried any of it. And that's what really, it's like, wow. So how do you know what you've grown?
Oh, I've only known good farmers that do that, but that it's not that they haven't tried their stuff. It's just they're not smoking anymore. Like they were like old school stoners, and they're like, oh yeah, I smoke it every now and then, but nothing like. But they'll always tell their buyers they don't smoke it. No, and that's what happens when it gets regulated like that. Like I don't like.
Yeah.
I'm not high.
Well, that's why we made our channel, so we can have the conversation. Vsauce, let us know. We're here.
Vsauce. Wait, which one is that one? Damn it.
It's Michael, who did the ayahuasca trip, who
Yes.
wanted... So he was talking to Ethan on the H3 podcast, and he was saying how it was interesting because it's like he couldn't even talk to the researcher about it because like of the stigma of like, oh, I don't do that. It's like, okay, like who can have this conversation?
Well, it's not
then?
about I don't do that. It's I'm not allowed to I'm supposed to be a third part. I can't give my it's like conflict of interest type thing.
Oh, you think so? Okay.
I don't know. That's
I mean, who
what
knows? I mean,
see.
he wanted to have a conversation. It's like, who else could he have talked to? And that's the sad thing. It's like
It is limited by like you don't want to be crossing a line when you're walking that close to it.
He could have been cool. That guy could have been cool.
They're trying to make a line. Like they're not trying to.
I know. It's fine. We'll be on the middle or whatever the line needs.
Well, I think it needs that. I think it needs both.
A lot of people taking LSD, talking about LSD to help other people take LSD.
This segments have been funded by
Big
LSD.
LSD.
They're out to get us, guys.
So LSD, if you guys don't know, was synthesized by a guy named Albert Hoffman, who took it on accident.
Well,
He
I
just
think
did it unwittingly and went on a bicycle ride, and it was like the craziest bicycle ride of his life. And he thought
because
like,
he was totally tripping out.
yeah, he was tripping
So
balls.
his perceptions were
and he
didn't know what it did.
And so his like neighbor came over and tried to like give him milk, and he thought she was like a demon. And then he went to the doctor, and eventually the doctor was like, "You're fine." And then after he heard that, he calmed down.
Yeah,
But-
he's like, oh, just go to sleep.
Yeah. So who is that? A chemist? Is Albert Hoffman a chemist? You would say?
I think yes, a chemist.
Chemist synthesized LSD, accidentally went on that trip, and then he presented it to the pharmaceutical company as like his findings. But then they deemed it not necessary, so it was supposed to be destroyed. But I guess he kept some, and
he felt like there were parts of it that benefited. There was no one who felt like, what can it be applied to, and how, what therapies and blah blah blah, and like I think it was a hard sell because it was at the same time when psychology and psychiatry and mental health was starting to like come into our
so he felt like, I think he's attributed with a quote that says like he felt like LSD called him, so he felt a strong urge to like go back to that like chemical compound like LSD 25 and like study it, because it was like the 25th iteration.
From,
the ergot root, right?
So,
and so
people have
synthesized
tripped out naturally
right? For the Salem,
on an isomer of this, or an isotope, or what this very similar compound. He was just able to synthesize it,
right?
And LSD is the synthesized form.
Yeah, and so LSD 25 was like the 25th, I think, or
iteration,
right?
Yes, because they kept messing with it, and it would do different things.
And then I think he came back to it, and then I think they actually released it as a pharmaceutical, as like a droplet, and so you can go purchase it from like the pharmacy for a while before it became like illegal. I forget what happened, but yeah, that's the history of LSD. It was synthesized by a chemist who accidentally dosed himself from like, and he felt, even after that like crazy trip, he felt such a strong calling back to it, because he felt like, I guess it was a significant experience, right?
Whether or not he can put into words how it benefited him. He was like, it benefited me somehow.
And so I think
everyone else needs to
LSD with the foresight of knowing what you're getting into is much more beneficial than just like dosing yourself on accident and just like having and like riding your bicycle and being like, what the hell?
Although that would be fun.
It sounds crazy. But not fun if you don't know what's going on. It sounds like that's like a
kid trying to learn how to ride a bike.
Yeah, but to be an adult and to become like a kid again, it would just be like, you would freak out. Like that guy had to go to the doctor.
Oh.
Anyways.
Yeah, I guess.
So if a chemist made it, like how bad can it be? Right?
Oh please, chemists make all the drugs.
Exactly. Everything you consume is made by a chemist. So just take some LSD. It's fine.
A chemist. Oh, like alchemists.
I think everything we consume, like candy is made by a chemist.
Metalguri. I don't know even how to say those things.
Metalguri.
I realize a lot of my terminology, I only learned it in Cuba, so some of it doesn't sound right to English speakers.
What's a scarecrow? Is that pájaro loco?
Oh, I don't know. I've never seen one. I only know it as a scarecrow.
We know a guy named Hippie Joe. And apparently, that's what the Mexicans would call him. He's like, they call me Scarecrow because I would chase him away. Because they would tag his stuff.
Oh, why?
And so they call him Pájaro Loco. I'm like, crazy bird? He's like, no, I think it means scarecrow. Oh man.
That's gonna be our band name.
Pájaro Loco. That's actually pretty. So I feel like the coolest I didn't really meet cool people
in Cuba. If they call you pájaro, they're calling you gay.
Really?
Just FYI. Huh. Maricón. You're a gay dude.
Maricón? Mm-hmm. What is that translated to in English?
You're a fag.
Maricón means you're a fag.
He's a fag.
Oh. What? That's
If you say
that
it to your
direct?
friend, it's funny.
Uh-huh.
If you say it to someone, it's like derogatory.
Interesting. Yeah.
But they're not homophobic.
No, it's I saw a thread on Reddit. I think it was today actually. It was like straight men of Reddit, what's the gayest thing you've done?
Yeah.
And so one of the comments was like,
I'm like, it's a lot of stuff that like girls do for each other. Just
so there was like
regular.
an army one where it's like two guys
Why does
like
it have to be
got into the same shower and started rubbing each other's backs, and like both of them were straight,
cleaning,
but they wanted to see the reaction of
on
like
the CO
of the captain
or the,
or whoever, and the comment before that or responding to that said like the army is the most like this is the gayest group of homophobes you'll ever meet.
yeah.
And it was so funny to me. That line. The gayest group of homophobes.
So Miguel totally exemplifies that,
so, yeah, that
Cuban
seems...
thing of like you don't talk down on like gay people or lesbian, but there's this weird underlying homophobia that I'm like,
it's like ew, like don't touch me.
Yeah, like, like,
yeah, I wonder where that comes from, because I feel like a lot of people in church are the same way. They're like, yeah, we're like...
Oh, that's like very... I don't know. Someone interpreted it. I mean, yeah.
But so you think his is different than that?
I guess it's similar. I guess, yeah, it probably comes from the same...
Like, why did they feel icky?
It's a cultural thing, but it's so funny as a woman reading that. It's like... Oh, that's cute, because we're like, you guys need that. Like, how come you guys aren't more nice to each other that way? Like, why is it always?
Right.
Why is it gotta be so like sexual? Why can't it just be like you need some good rest and you need a cuddle buddy, or like I'm not that big, but I'll be your big spoon, your jetpack or whatever. Like. That bromance, I'm glad for bromances, because I'm like, that helps. Men who have healthy bromances make the best partners for women. I mean, for someone who's like of the other, like stuck being on the other,
that's interesting.
Stuck being on the other side of the coin.
Because it shows that they can be close to another person, or like another, or emotionally. I don't know what it is, like a... Or
they recognize the limitations within which their own, like, they're able to, like, if they can commune with another dude on the bullshit about being a dude, is like,
yeah, but you have to be able to like laugh and like like each other,
just like women do with other women. And we're not all lesbians. Like, geez, just because, you know, like.
Oh, I see.
Like.
Yeah,
this is what friends
to be
do.
Close without anything
This is
sexual.
how you can love someone, or make each other laugh, because they're just having a shit situation that has nothing to do with whether or not you want to get in their pants. Like.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when they can maintain relationships like that, like outside, and
that's so that you would say that's a good green flag for a girl looking into like a guy, is that he has a close
because
bromance.
Yeah, because I guess then he's talking to people and communicating with people who can give him like reality checks that I think someone who was raised as a woman in this world isn't gonna be able to give him.
Mm-hmm.
It's just always gonna feel like an attack, because you're like, you don't know what it is to be like. And I'm like, I don't. That's why.
Yeah.
But
that's why we have weed.
I thought it was going back to LSD.
Oh. Well, you can't always take LSD though.
You dropped the line.
I don't know.
No, yeah, that's true. Quite
LSD...
literally, it doesn't do much after a certain, like, if you
really in terms,
you
it kind of like sets a course, and then you just kind of go along with it. You don't really change that much. I feel like on LSD as much as
you change as
people,
much as you want to it's like you can utilize it,
right? But I feel like that,
you know.
yeah. But I feel like the change only happens in one direction. I don't know if you can change out of it.
You're the type, which I agree to, and which I feel like a lot of psychedelic experienced users come to, is there's never a bad trip.
So what's the other type?
Oh, you can have a bad trip.
Oh,
Like there's bad and there's good.
I see. Okay.
Or there's like a
Yeah. No, I know. I don't. All right. I know
No,
that
but
I
I'm
don't
more
know.
like yeah.
Ugh.
Well, yeah. We're like no one can define it, but then if you come to a point where like you've had so many other experiences, you're like, whoa, wow. It's like they all make sense. They're all needed. I guess some people will try LSD and they get freaked out because it kind of works through the emotions that you've kind of been avoiding first.
Yeah.
And so like, oh
Yeah.
shit, I didn't know I was that angry.
Anything.
I'm like, why am I so fucking pissed?
Yeah.
It's
Anything
like,
you're
oh, just
dealing
go
with.
yell at the sky or something.
Anything you're dealing with emotionally will immediately come to your mind because that's what's on your mind. Like
And
you're,
you've been like
you
putting
can't
on the
hide
back
from
burner.
it.
Yeah.
On LSD. And
All
that's
of a
why.
sudden it's like in your face.
That's why I think people say like get your set and setting. Like when they say set, it's like your mindset, and you don't want to have like things that you're angry about or things that you're like sad about on your mind.
Or if you
Or that-
purposely are trying to get over it, figure it out a way
Right.
through it.
I guess if you're right, and I think that's the difference is where if you're trying to deflect those feelings and you're not really like looking at them like observing them.
Oh, these drugs
Then
don't help
that's-
you do that.
That's
really.
that's
An
not a good
escape?
setting for you. But if you're looking to actually like confront these feelings or like you want to understand them better, then that's what they're really good at doing. Yeah, they're not good at it
Yeah,
as
but
an
it's
escape
not
for your
always a
feelings.
pleasant experience, is what I would warn people.
Yeah, it's a very
Because
real.
there are things where I'm like, wow, that's exhilarating. And I look at people and they're like freaked out of their minds. It's like, they're really scared. We should stop.
Yeah, it's true. Well, that's okay.
Don't
what
don't
microdose-
freak out the humanoids.
That's
I
what
mean,
microdoses are for. The humanoid. Shut up, stupid. Who are you trying to make paranoid? Mark Zuckerberg? Elon Musk is already paranoid about us.
What?
The Asians.
Dude,
Scary.
Harvard experiments and blind studies will tell you
What?
the whites will cheat the Asians every time.
No, the whites will cheat anyone. I mean, I think that's
Oh yeah, but they're cheating the one that they feel is like second in line.
right. No,
About
that's the
to
thing.
take the bigger. If they feel they're about to take.
No, that's what I'm
bigger
saying.
chunk of the pie.
They'll cheat fourth in line, fifth in line. You know what I mean? That's like we just happen to be second.
Well, it's
So
not
of course.
cheating. Maybe it's not cheating. Maybe it's just a.
I think it's a human thing. It's like when you okay. So there was a Angela Duckworth on the Stephen Dubner No Stupid Questions podcast. She brought up a really interesting experiment where she said when they had to share a toy, they would do so like without hesitation. But
yes.
but if
Children naturally are very
Right.
communal.
right, but if there's some ambiguity where you don't necessarily have to share the toy unless you think they're deserving of it, then
They withhold it.
Yeah, they were much more withholding when the decision was theirs, not when they just had to share.
And it's
so
an
I think-
arbitrary deserving.
I think it's a very
Yeah.
like it's like why like dogs like eat so much like out of their dog bowl.
Well,
like when
that-
it's a communal bowl, it's because I think that's like a survival mechanism to try to get as much as you can.
Remember
because
that little dog? Were we?
no, right, and that's
and
what I
she
think.
was hiding. I'm like, that's how she survived, just on the bits. They're like, she didn't drink from a water bowl. I'm like, she survived by just getting water. Like,
Right. So the
scraps.
studies that show that like Harvard or like white people are like cheating out Asians like when given the opportunity, I think
it's just a
I think
natural
that's a human thing that people will cheat
but we
people.
and capture it more because there's more white people there to study.
Well, sure, yeah.
It's like that, like
That's
they said,
true.
it's like Harvard undergrads. Of course, they're gonna look like all white and Asian people.
Right, and so it's like the correlation doesn't necessarily mean causation. Where it's like just because
Uh-huh.
these two things are correlated, if you just, I guess, like zoom out you'll just see that this is just how humans behave. It's not necessarily whites are cheating out Asians. This is just how humans behave. It's like when given the opportunity, you'll be
Mhm.
more withholding naturally because
So
you don't
that's
have to
why it's
share.
like, but it's so crazy because the ones underneath usually they're share so much more. It
Right.
like goes.
That's interesting. Yeah.
It's inverse,
I
and
think
it takes our mind and our conscience to understand and
you know
make that work. And if it doesn't, then it's
I have a theory
it's
about
off
that.
kilter.
I and it's something I thought because I've heard that too. It's like why are people who don't have much more generous than people who have a lot? And I think it's because people who don't have much have experienced generosity because they don't have a lot.
Very immediately.
Right, and it's
they do it almost on a daily.
right.
Like you're helping me watch my kids while I'm helping. Like
And
they're
so-
always helping each other out.
Right. And I think because they experience generosity, they're a lot more willing to give it just because like that's it. They're because
It's a natural give and take in any community.
right. And it's almost like generosity is almost like it's survival basically for them. And I think that's why you see it a
It's
lot
how they
more.
trade.
Yeah, you see a lot more, I think, poor people being more generous.
Social
just because,
equity, just because they haven't the cash in hand.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean they're not trading stuff of value.
Yeah, they have to because that's how they survive.
But it's so weird. That's like there was another, oh, I'm so bad. This is why I listen to too many podcasts and then I can't remember where it come from, or it's a mixed mosh of a bunch of them. But
Terrible.
the-
Come on, Yarny.
there's
I
this
can name
guy.
every podcast I listen to. I do it on the show all the time.
That's why you're in charge of those.
I'm just
things.
kidding. I'm just kidding. Yeah.
The person's step to out of poverty every time he asks the person who's able to give him something. I don't know if it's the devil or something. It's just another being. It's not good or bad. They just say, "How can I help you?" It's like, okay, fine. If you get this step, then you're gonna forget there's what it was at that last step.
Uh-huh.
And by the time you get to the top, you've forgotten what it was.
Right. Because it was so many.
Bottom.
Yeah.
Because it's so many steps removed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think if you
I was like, but what about that's like, isn't that why we think it's cyclical? Or it is
the sandals to
cyclical?
sandals generation thing, where it's
What's
what's cyclical?
Everything. It's not just a step from the bottom to the top. Like
you're seeing not being more generous is how you get to the top? Just kidding.
in that system where there's just a top and a bottom.
Yeah.
I'm like,
the Jeff Bezos system.
But the system I like being in is like, it's just it's a cycle.
We're 6.5 hours in. Wow.
For sometimes time can go really slow, and I think that's when people freak out when they're like, "What? It's only been a minute." And then other times you're like, "What? What happened in the 3 hours we recorded? I didn't watch a movie. We were just talking."
I guess so. Yeah. Wow. All right. Well, we should finish this up. I guess we can finish it up in like 30 minutes. We still have so many
what do you
joints to
still
smoke.
feel? Yeah, we were prepping.
I don't know.
I said you get segments ready if you want to do segments, and I'll
There was a point
roll
where I
as
felt
many
like
joints.
yeah, in that middle part, I felt like I just couldn't look at myself. It was tripping so hard, so I just laid down.
Oh, because the colors.
I don't
feel
know.
like the colors
it's hard.
on our faces and this screen keeps changing. Like that's why I'm like, it's like it won't.
No, it was hard for me to look at myself in the screen, and or maybe I was looking at myself too much, but it was a weird. Yeah, I had to lay down because, but it was fun. It was a good type of lay down where I got to just like think.
Mm-hmm. I always tell people when the come up feels uncomfortable, like just lay down, find a spot, throw up if you have to.
Pretty much.
Cry. A lot of people, I feel like they get to cry when they couldn't. It's like a mourning. Some people couldn't. I feel like Americans aren't given chances to grieve as much as they should for the things they're losing.
Why?
Because you go to other cultures and you see that like they're
have
okay
anything?
with bawling their eyes out
No, but why?
or like having those emotions. It's like
No.
it's
But
not.
why do you feel like Americans are as emotional then?
We're not allowed to. I don't think we allow ourselves to grieve.
Oh, is that
in
what they call
way.
toxic masculinity?
Yes. It's like, who cares what you're crying for? Like, if you're crying, you feel like crying, just cry.
I
Like,
can't cry.
get
I
it
have
out. Maybe
to-
there's like salts you need to get out of your system.
I cry by, what do they call it?
Sweating.
Rolling coal
Man's-
in my truck.
Man's tears through his sweat. Like, I'm like, oh no, we've got tear glands for a reason.
I don't know, man. Sometimes you watch a really sad movie and you just can't help it.
And then I know
Oh my
women
God.
who are plagued by the other, like, why don't you cry more? You're a girl. It's like, oh, she doesn't cry.
Leave her alone.
Oh my God.
People.
She's sad. She's just not going to cry about it.
This is why the Gen Xers or not the Gen Xers, the Gen Zers are rejecting those. What do they call it? Those gender norms? Because they're like, who cares?
Well,
It's like
any of
you're
those
every
norms,
gender and you're no gender at the same time.
because they were raised by parents who were like, oh shoot, I don't want them to feel obligated or unloved, and so they were just kind of free. They're like, yeah, none of this defines me. What's wrong with you guys?
I'm around so many transphobes that I
Transphobes?
now, yes.
Because of your religion?
No. I mean, no. Yes, that
No.
too, but surprisingly, outside of my religion, there are a lot of transphobes as well. And so I've now just been
for sure.
I've-
As an American,
I've been just like kind of slipping in like I think
I be.
think Caitlyn Jenner, yeah, exactly. I think Caitlyn Jenner is so brave. Like I would transition like if I was brave enough. And it's like
and they're all just quiet.
yes. And it's like
should we help him?
no, it's like
Should we abandon him? Should we support him? What do we do?
no, exactly. It's like
Oh,
no
shit.
one knows how to talk about it. And it's like as soon as you even approach the subject, they'll take you so seriously. Because they're so I don't know why people are so afraid of it. It's just like people are people. Okay, so I knew someone who was
Yeah,
a
I was
transvestite.
like-
I mean not transvestite, sorry.
When I pick out someone, I'm like, I love her face, and someone will be like, "Do you know that's a man?" I'm like,
Right. So I knew someone that transitioned.
who the fuck cares? Like I said, I liked her face.
Right, and I knew someone who transitioned in high school, and I knew this person. Okay, so because I
Ooh,
love
dude,
Carl's Jr.
I've
and
seen
so I would
some
go to Carl's Jr.
beautiful male to female, but
No.
Asian
So let me finish the story. So I would always see him working at Carl's Jr. And so
Mhm.
I got to kind of see his transition from like him dressing as a woman to I think him going through more
yes,
hormonal treatments. And it's
yeah, you have to go through a whole cycle. Like,
and
they
as a
prep
young
you.
person, like
You have to
I
be
didn't
in
understand
that
it, but then I understood
role
that person was convicted enough
to
to be in that like
to be bound by that.
right, but to also like if I like for me I don't voice any of my uncomfort, but there for me like there's probably 100 people that will, and so for him
Yes.
to put himself in that situation but be public about it, then that's
And it's
really
like it's
what
not
made
hurting
me
anyone.
yeah, that made me realize like, oh, this is like it's a serious thing. It's not like a choice or it's not like a call for like attention, but it's actually like
It's just a humanitarian. Why
people-
can't they express themselves? Like,
right, people feel this way. Like
Uh-huh.
really, like inside, and it's like who are we to say like what genders are?
or it's like, who are we to discredit what
Like-
people feel?
Right, like balls are just ovaries anyways, right? Like well, that's all the same. Who cares if Elliot Page
No,
is
I
Ellen
don't think
Page?
balls are ovaries.
Isn't it?
Mm-mm.
Aren't they? I don't know. Okay, for whatever. I'm not an animalist.
And then embryologist.
Is that a real thing? I meant anatomist. I don't know. It's anatomy. I was trying to.
Embryologist is if you're trying to say what is.
I didn't even know that thing existed. I didn't know an embryologist existed.
Oh. Anyways,
See, that's
a
why I'm
term.
like, what? Okay, that's it. Sure.
Well, I know, but you're making up an anatomist. I'm
Yeah.
like, that's not a term. You're
A person who
like
studies
embryologist.
anatomy. Duh, that makes more sense than the person who studies embryos. Who studies embryos?
Because it's from the embryos that we
That's-
just we can figure out what makes male and female.
No, I'm pretty sure the position you
You
do it
said
in,
ovaries and testes. When do those things develop? They come
at the
from the
position
same
that you were
cell,
conceived in.
And then why does the X chromosome, two X chromosomes, why do they, it's genetically coded.
Yeah.
But what's genetically coded and when it expresses itself is
When
that's
those Koreans throw those-
embryology.
Yeah, and that's when those Koreans throw those dates.
Embryologia.
Jesus. Okay, fine.
I know. You know why I don't say a lot of the American terminology as people are like, why don't you just say it because you know it? I was like, because I don't know if I'm saying it right.
Who
But I'm like,
cares?
embryologia.
No one's saying it right.
Anatomia. I'm like, I don't know how anatomist. Maybe that is a thing.
Yeah, probably.
Anatomologist. I
Person
don't
who
know.
studies anatomy.
Just adologist.
I am an LSD
I'm
ologist.
that's what we call
I'm
them. They
a-
call us psychonauts.
Oh, that sounds
Psychonauts?
crazy. I would never
Knots,
really...
like astronauts. We go explore the cosmos of human minds.
Oh my god, these joints are never ending. Okay, so we gotta...
Oh, because I made them.
If you like the video, leave a like and subscribe.